A very good morning to all my dear students. I hope you are all doing really well, and I'm glad to read the comments that you have studied and you have revised all the types of companies. That's great. Yes, Abhijit Kumar, a very good morning, Mr. Smith, Garima, Kanishka. Yes, this is our last lecture today. So the feeling is exactly mutual. Isra, Prasant, all of you. Miss Sabina, a very good morning to all of you. Soumya, Shukla, Rishu Chauhan, Shobit, Sanket, Gaurang, a very good morning. And yes, I understand that, yes, you all are geared up. We are going to wind up the Companies Act also today. We are finishing off with the syllabus. My only humble request, children, whatever you have learned through all these online classes, please make a proper tabular form of information with you, make proper flow charts, keep revising the context, don't postpone it. अब अगर आपकी लॉ की क्लास नहीं रेगुलर लगेगी तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि अब हमने पढ़ना नहीं है जी, हमारी पढ़ाई होगी. Revision is now on your shoulders as much as you will revise, and I'm sure if you revise properly, you'll study properly, all of you are going to crack your foundation. My good wishes are always with you. All right. So those who are asking about who is a promoter, how we can start our own company, and then OPC difficulties. So children, before we start with the today's session, let me tell you that today's lecture is very, 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 very important. Even if you have missed any of the Priyanka Verma, Shweta, Priyanka Gupta, Chandan, Khushbu, Gorendra, Samela, good morning all of you children. Prateek, Lubana, Dipanjana, Sinha, Sumela, all of you, good morning. So even if you have missed the previous lecture, today's lecture is very, very important. Why it is so important? Because number one, today we are going to start our lecture with the amendments. Do you know what is the meaning of amendment? Amendment means any changes that have occurred in law or in any respective act. So children, if you'll open the RTPs, that is revision test papers, something which is yet to be included in your study material. So there are some certain amendments, 5 to 6 amendments, which I'm going to tell you today itself. So all those who were asking me last time, ma'am, OPC is pakka 182 days. See children, I didn't want to confuse you in the previous lecture, because in the previous lecture we discussed what is OPC, what is small company. Now you all very well know where is OPC written in your study material. You know what is a small company. So today when I'll tell you about the amendments and the changes, you simply have to open your study material, cross where it is written 182 days and make it 120 days. Why? Because this is the amendment which has come by Ministry of Company Affairs. They have made certain changes in the Companies Act 2013. So number one, I will make you do and mark all the amendments in your study material. So today is the most important lecture because we're going to make certain important changes also. After that, we will be quickly moving to the registration of company because we are yet to register the company. We are yet to receive the certificate of incorporation. And then we will be winding up the syllabus with memorandum and articles of association. Also very important case laws will be discussed in today's lecture. Yes, Dipanjana, the feelings are exactly mutual over here also. Okay, Aksha, you're asking about associate company, and all those who are still asking about associate company, I hope you all remember that 20% significant influence needs to be seen. The only point which you all were still wondering, fiduciary capacity is something which will not be considered as a part of associate company. What is the meaning of fiduciary capacity? Means having a relationship of trust and beneficiary. So if any company is holding 20% share on the basis of mutual trust and confidence, any trustee beneficiary relationship is there, then it will not be an associate company. But other than that, other than the fiduciary capacity, if any company is holding 20% significant influence, what is the meaning of significant influence? Exactly what we have read in the section 2. So it says significant influence is being held by one company or another. They are participating in their management decisions. They are trying to control the affairs. Then 20% relationship will establish the associate company relationship. Also, we will be taking up a very important examination questions in our PPT today. So we will revise it from there also. All right, Rishabh, Om Shri, Rangana, Vishnu Dio, all of you. So stay tuned. And first of all, a very important thing which is coming up is your RTPS amendments. Now it is very, very important. Something which you really need to note down in your notebooks, something which you need to make changes in your study material. So children, earlier provision. So now you see Amendment Act, this is exactly given in your, if you'll open the RTPs in your ICAI website, it is clearly given in the November 21 examination. The moment you open it, the first thing which will come will be your relevant amendments which are applicable for November 21 exams. So those who are asking, ma'am, हमें भी ये applicable है? हाँ जी, बिल्कुल 100% आपको applicable है. So now these are the changes which have made in the study material. You need to advise to refer the study material edition with these applicable. Means you need to change these in your study material. So children, who was a resident in India in 1% company? You have studied with me 182 days. Now just cross those 182 days and write not less than 120 days. So you all need to open page number 5.10 of your study material, and there it is written in the OPC 182 days. Now 182 days, it is written 120 days. Okay. All right. This is the first very, very, see children, out of the 5-6 amendments, OPC is the most important amendment, and somehow I have a kind of intuition that they're going to ask you this kind of question. So how the examiner is going to question you? That there was a person, Mr. A, stop writing the queries, pay attention here. I will give you enough time for the queries also. But children, don't miss out something which is very important, I'm telling you right. Okay. So all the eyes and ears here. So if I say Mr. A wants to open an OPC and he has been in India for more than 170 days. So can he open an OPC? Of course, yes. Because what is the condition that we have to see? That he should have been in India for a period not less than 120 days. So what is the minimum number of days I have to see? 120 days. So now let me just do a brainstorming with all of you. There is Mr. A who went to Europe in the previous year and he returned in India only in the month of January. So when I counted his days, for January and February, he was in India, and after that, again, he flew in March. So he was approximately present in India for 62 days. Is he eligible to open an OPC? Yes or no? Quickly. A person, Mr. A, who was available in India in the previous year for only 2 months, January and February, counting to 62 days, is he eligible to open OPC? Yes or no? आप लोग सोचोगे मैम ने आपसे हमारा टेस्ट ले लिया है, क्वेश्चंस पूछने बहुत जरूरी है बच्चा, क्योंकि अमेंडमेंट अगर आपने ना याद करी तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. The first one to give me the answer is Nipun Gupta. Excellent. No, he cannot open an OPC. Why? Because minimum 120 days have to be seen. So even if he is present in India for 119 days, he is not eligible to open an OPC. Clear ho gaya? So everyone will cut 182 days in the OPC's points and will write 120 days. Samajh aa gaya ye? Even for the nominee. So we did, it is eligible to incorporate OPC and nominee. So for both, nominee also has to be in India for at least 120 days. Fair enough. Now, ma'am, we did a very interesting question from OPC for May 2019, wherein I explained you why the conversion was possible, but our respected Ministry of Company Affairs has omitted that question in itself. Okay, they have omitted that question in itself, saying that where it was written that OPC can convert if the period paid up share capital or the turnover has increased beyond a certain limit. So all my children, let me show you what I'm talking about. I have also made certain changes in the presentation so that when you open the presentation, you know what has been marked correctly and what you don't have to do. So this was the question which we discussed, not May, it was November 2019 question which came in exam, which we discussed in the previous lecture also. OPC can be converted or not. So you all told me, ma'am, yes, the turnover has increased beyond 2 crores, then we can convert. But now this conversion has been omitted with respect from 1st April 21. I have intentionally incorporated in the PPT and crossed it so that children, you don't get confused. You don't have to look in for the material. कई बार क्या होता है हम examination questions लेकर बैठते हैं और हम answers learn करने लग जाते हैं. तो ये जानबूझकर मैंने आपका नवंबर 2019 का क्वेश्चन एक्सप्लेन कर कर आपको ऊपर omitted लिख दिया है, so that you remember that now OPC conversion is not possible. Why it is not possible? Because your respected RTP is telling us that omitted. So page number 5.10, where this whole summary of conversion of public company and private company of the OPC has been written, please cut it off, strike it off, and write that this has now been omitted. So if now anyone gives you a question that conversion can happen, so you'll simply write no conversion is possible. Till the further instructions are not received, what is the limit? As of now, it is simply omitted. Means you cannot convert the OPC. समझ आ गया? तो दोनों चेंजेस आप सबने कर लिए हैं ओपीसी में, 120 डेज कर दिया आपने और ये कन्वर्जन को ओमिट करते हैं. Now coming back to the definition of small company. So now all my children know section 2 subsection 85. We discussed small company, 50 lakhs provisions and 2 crore provisions need to be seen. You remember there was the highest limit which was given for 5 crores and 20 crores. So now all those changes. Now here in the definition, they are not substituting anything. Can you see this blank? They're not substituting anything. They are simply trying to tell you that the paid up capital and turnover, the higher limits have been now increased. So it was earlier 5 crores and now it is 2 crores and 20 crores. So they have just substituted the prescribed limits. Nothing much to learn. Simply you need to remember the new definition with respect to the amendment. So the amendments have been given in the rules. So Ministry of Company Affairs has just prescribed the upper limit for formation of small company. All right. Clear. Similarly, children, in listed company also, you don't have to apply much of the brains. You simply have to remember that earlier the definition was that the securities which are listed on the stock exchange, that is a listed company. But now an additional paragraph has been included which says that the class of companies which have listed or intend to list such securities, means the companies which are just intending to list the securities in consultation with SEBI. SEBI is Securities Exchange Board of India. So here he is giving you the information about SEBI also. Now, who is Security Exchange Board of India? You don't have to go into much of detail. This is part of your CA interstate. Ma'am, what we have to remember over here simply that the companies which intend to list the securities will not be considered as a listed company. Means ABC Limited, which has listed the securities on the stock exchange, that is a listed company. But if they're just intending, they're just making the preparations, they are in consultation with the Securities Exchange Board, then it will not be a listed company. To be a listed company, your stocks must be listed on the exchange. If you're just in the consultation, that doesn't mean that the securities have been listed. समझ आ गया? So small company and listed company simply definition जो new वाली आई है वो आपने learn कर लेनी है. That's it. Now section 8 subsection 11. Quickly tell me, section 8 companies. What is the motive of section 8 companies? Let me take your test. Do you remember what are section 8 companies? We had a full-fledged session on section 8 companies. Again, this is examiner's favorite. Very good, those who are responding. I have just seen your answers now. No, ma'am, at least 120 days. Very good, children. Very good. So Naman Goel has also written no, ma'am, because only 62 days. So at least 120 days are compulsory. Good. Priyanka Gupta has written very beautifully, ma'am. Section already tells us that now it is 120. Good. Okay, now convert. Tell me the answer for this one. What is section 8 companies? So we are having those who were saying, ma'am, revise bhi kara dena. Ye aapki revision hi ho rahi hai. I'm asking you straight away. We are answering also. Section 8 companies. Lakshay Gupta, queries at the end. Bacha, please. Bakshish Singh is the first one to answer that these are the organizations for charitable purposes, maybe for promoting art, culture. You're taking too long to answer, students. You have not revised. That means section 8 companies are the companies which are for promoting art, culture kind of work, for sports, for associations which are set up to promote certain kind of category of work. So I told you they are non-profit organization, which Bakshish Singh has very rightly answered. Their motive is not to earn just profits. They are doing a kind of a promotion of any cultural activity, and even no dividend is given to the shareholders. The only important point we remembered, few points which we did in section 8 companies are, yes, Ruchi Gupta, Sanya, Vinaya, Kaksha, Priyanka Gupta, Sneha. Now I've got your answers. Garima, Yash Segal, very good. These are the companies which deals with the charitable objects. And what was the important point? That they need the license of central government. ये भी लिख देते यार, सारा डिवाइस हो जाता. So license of central government is taken. Chalo, now stop writing, come here. License of central government is taken, and when does it get revoked? If any contraventions are done. So there was a very important point where I told you that certain penalty and punishment is also given if you contravene any of the provisions. So let us see what was the punishment. And another important point was partnership firm can also be a member in Section 8 companies. So वो आपने याद रखना है. Case study आ सकती है कि ABC Associates is a partnership firm. Can they be a member in Section 8 companies? Comment. So you'll write the entire significant points of Section 8 companies and you will underline the way I've underlined in the PPT. Important points needs to be underlined. Okay. So you'll underline that yes, partnership firm can also be a member in Section 8 companies. Now, when the central government can cancel my license of Section 8 companies, then what happens? That then earlier the provision was if company makes any default in complying with the requirements, then a fine up till 10 lakh to 1 crore is charged. Directors and every officer is punishable with imprisonment, which may extend to 3 years. So if you are all referring to your study material, page number 5.15, you will read that this is what is written, that there is a penalty. Page number 5.15 पे बच्चा आपने पढ़ना है कि penalty दी हुई है 10 लाख रुपीस की and imprisonment दी हुई है. Imprisonment means jail हो जाएगी, 3 years और more के लिए jail हो जाती है. But अब उन्होंने liberal कर दी है आपकी latest provision. Let us read what is given in the amendment. It says a company makes any default, then without prejudice to the any other section, the punishable fine will be 10 lakh, which makes 10 to 1 crore, and every director who is eligible for the default, who is in the default, shall be punishable with a fine of rupees 25,000, which makes 10 to 25 lakh rupees. So is there anything about imprisonment? No. So straight away go to page number 5.15. मैं आपको दिखा भी देती हूँ आपने करना क्या है अब इसमें. You simply need to remove the words and 3 years imprisonment. Okay. So we will go to the study material. Let me open page number 5.15. I'll show you all the changes that we need to make. So straight away, let's go to the OPC first of all. So last time I intentionally didn't tell you because OPC आपको पता ही नहीं था. अब आपको अच्छे खासा पता है कि 182 days कहाँ लिखा है. तो हमने simply OPC में जाकर जहाँ पे लिखा है 182 days, इसको काट दीजिए और इसको कर दीजिए 120 days. Everyone is clear? Yes, everyone is clear on this. What is the another thing we have to do over here is this conversion is now omitted. So strike off this from your study material that OPC can be converted. Now it has been removed. No information about conversion. After that, small company changes I have already told you. This prescribed capital that they have said shall not be more than 10 crores and shall not be more than 100 crores. So this 50 lakhs and 2 crores figures that they have given, they have revised these figures up to the amount of 2 crores and 20 crores. So accordingly, you have to incorporate that. Now quickly, let's move to Section 8 companies. Listed companies definition also I told you that it has changed. So you have to learn the latest definition which is given in the amendment. So Section 8 listed company has been given the definition. You will just include that small paragraph that if companies intend to list the securities and they are in consultation with SEBI, then those will not be regarded as listed. Simple. अब Section 8 companies के last paragraph में आ जाते हैं. Section 8 subsection 11. This is what it says. Page number 5, 1.5. It says if company makes any default, then the fine of 10 lakh to 1 crore. This is still same. And there was a line which says imprisonment of 3 years. So simply you will pick this up and you will cut it off. So strike off this line. Imprisonment of 3 years means now there is no provision of putting them in jail, only a fine of 10 lakhs which can extend up to 1 crores or 25,000 which can extend up till 25 lakhs. That is only applicable. इस 3 years को आप काट देंगे. समझ आ गया सबको? पेनल्टी पनिशमेंट सेक्शन 8 सबसेक्शन 11 में चेंजेस हुए हैं. प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट. बिकॉज सेक्शन 9 में भी एक पेनल्टी आती है, उसमें मत काट देना. You simply have to strike off on page number 5.15. So page number 5.15 where you will go and you will simply strike off this word of 3 years. Clear hai? So with this we come to an end of our amendments we have already discussed now. I hope no problems in the amendment so far. So what were the basic amendments? What we have just discussed, that small company, listed companies definition changes needs to be remembered. Where are we? Small company and listed company definition needs to be changed. Remember, section 8, I have told you 3 years imprisonment needs to be striked off. Only the fine amount is there. And the most important amendment was only for OPC. 182 days की जगह आपने 120 days याद रखना है. And conversion कर सकते हैं OPC की, yes or no? No ma'am, now it is omitted. ठीक है, simple है. Now let's move to the syllabus because we have huge things to be completed today. So there are certain examination questions also which I'll be taking today. Along with that, we will find out the syllabus as well. All right. So there will be majorly 2 presentations. I have incorporated the entire chapters into 2 PPTs. Everything will be uploaded by tonight on your website, ICAI portal. You can download. Okay, now this is something which we have discussed at length in the previous lecture. हमने कर लिया था holding subsidiary relationship. This is the best example to learn and retain the information. So do the definitions and learn this example. This will help you to form a basic information at your mindset. This is also we have done how the denture managing case can be asked in the exam. Okay. Now this is something which is very, very important, and we are going to start with the incorporation of a company. After that, again, I will take you through certain questions so that you have a good mixture of revision as well as the syllabus. But let us quickly, first of all, understand how we have to get the company registered. Now, children, those who have been asking now also and earlier also, who is a promoter, please open your study material where it is given Section 8 companies. Straight away after Section 8 companies, we are starting with the mode of registration or incorporation of a company. So somewhere around 5.16 of 15-16 page number it is given. After public financial institution, sorry. So it is page number 5.17 or 18 in your study material. It says mode of registration or incorporation of company. So first of all, it is very important to see who is the promoter. Those who are writing, ma'am, please show the study material only. So I will take you directly in the study material only. So first of all, we need to understand who is a promoter. So children, promoter is a person who is going to start the company. People who are decided to come up with an idea to open a company are known as promoters. So in this registration of company today, we are going to understand how the promoter becomes the members, and when the members take the share in the company, they become the shareholders. So definition of promoter is another very interesting thing which examiner can give you for 2 marks or 3 marks. Define who is a promoter. अब simple language में पहले समझते हैं promoter होता कौन. So let me take few names from those who are sitting with me over here. So Mr. Bhaivav and Pushpa. So Mr. Bhaivav and Pushpa, those who have written, ma'am, it's very clear now. That's great. So Pushpa and Bhaivav came up with an idea of opening a company. And since nowadays people are very fond of using their mobile phones, so they thought, let's make different type of covers for these mobile phones. Or maybe a kind of a very different steel body for the mobile phone so that they're not breakable. So they have this innovative idea कि हम कुछ ऐसा करें. So can you say that Pushpa and Bhaivav have become shareholder in a company? Abhi to they have just come up with an idea. So law says what will be the name given to these people who have conceived the idea? They have just come up with an idea of forming the company. So this Mr. respective Pushpa and Bhaivav in our respective example who have come up with an idea of forming a company for having a steel body for the mobiles, they are known as promoters people who want to form the company. Okay, so agar koi company banana chahta hai, Narayan Murthy came up with an idea that I want to open Infosys. So that when he had to register the company, he was a promoter. After he got the company registered, he became a member. When he took shares in the company, he became a shareholder. And when he was appointed as a director, he becomes director of a company. So all this is a chain of the persons. So today, Pushpa and Weber, who have decided to form a company, are known as promoters. Why? Because they have conceived the idea and now they will take all the necessary steps for getting the company registered. Partnership firm compulsory है registration कराना? No ma'am, partnership में तो compulsory है ही नहीं है. सिर्फ हमें 4 benefits under section 69 मिलते हैं if we are a registered firm. But is it compulsory to get the companies registered? Yes or no? Is it compulsory to get the companies registered? Yes, it is compulsory to get the companies registered and get the certificate of incorporation. Why? Because otherwise it is known as unincorporated companies. I told you in the previous example also, incorporated companies means companies which are registered. So it is the very important requirement that you have to get your companies registered. So who is the promoter? Let's read once again. The person who is named in the prospectus or identified in the annual return. So these are the people who are forming the company. Their name always appears in the prospectus and also in the annual return which is filed by the company. Obviously, they are controlling the affairs of the company because they are the people who have come up with the idea. So now when Pushpa and Weber become a shareholder and director later on, whether they are a shareholder or director, they will always have the control on the affairs of the company. And also they are the people on whose advice and direction the board of directors is accustomed to act. Means जिनकी advice पे board of directors act करेंगे, action लेंगे company. So this is a broad definition of a promoter. You can learn these 3 points in a simpler language. Promoter is a person who has decided to set up a company. This is very important line. It should be noted that persons acting only in professional capacity like a solicitor, banker, accountant will not be regarded as a promoter. Now, Vaibhav and Pushpa came to me that, ma'am, you're a chartered accountant, you are CA, can you please help us in registering a company? So they have come up with the ideas. You want me to take different names? Abhijit Kumar and Garima. So, okay, now Abhijit Kumar and Garima and Lakshya Gupta, they have come to set up a company. So Lakshya Gupta, Abhijit Kumar and Garima, they want to set up a company and they are the promoters. So they also have an idea of forming the company, maybe some another idea, innovative idea. And now they are taking these steps for registration. So they came to me that, ma'am, you're a chartered accountant, and they also went to other bankers and lawyers to ask them that how I should incorporate my company. So do you think I will also become a promoter of a company? The answer is no. I'm just acting in my professional capacity. मैं तो सिर्फ उन्हें guide कर रही हूँ, उनको steps बताऊंगी कि बेटा आप ऐसे ऐसे करो, because मैं CA हूँ, तो मैंने तो Companies Act पढ़ा है, मैं practice कर रही हूँ, तो मुझे पता है कौन सी provision कहाँ applicable है. एक solicitor जो है, एक advisor जो है, consultant है, जो banker है, ये सब लोग जो help कर रहे हैं अभिजीत, लक्ष्य और गरिमा की company set करने में, उनको हम promoters नहीं बोलेंगे. Clear हो गया, समझ आ गया अच्छे से. तो people who are acting in their professional capacity will not be considered as the promoter. Okay. अब ये simple आपको बता रहा है formation of company बनती कैसे है. So section 3 deals with the requirements. So which is the section will tells you about the constitution of company, means forming the company. Section 3 gives the entire procedure how the company will be formed. In public company, how many minimum people are required? 7 or more can form a public company. 2 or more people can form a private company. Okay, my question to you, in one-person company, do I need minimum 2 people to set up an OPC? Yes or no? In OPC, do I need minimum 2 people to set up an OPC? No, ma'am, OPC in itself means it's the single person, one person company. Very good. So this was just to confuse you and see whether you are all awake and here only with me. So in public company, minimum 7 people are required. Private company, minimum 2 people are required. In OPC, only one person alone with his suitcase bag can go and get himself registered. that yes, now I'm no longer a sole proprietor. I want to get myself registered as OPC, one person company. So minimum, everyone knows now, around 600 students have written, no ma'am, only one person is required under OPC. So applause for all of you. Don't expect me to take so many names. Okay, now registration process is given under section 7. Section 7 हमें बताएगा कि हमने incorporate करने के लिए क्या-क्या steps लेने हैं. So the summary is given in my presentation, but since many of you asked me that, ma'am, please take it from the study so that we get a detailed explanation. So that's why let's go through the study material also. So number one step is filing of all the documents and information with the registrar. So very simple. आप company register करने जा रहे हो, जैसे हमने partnership में documents register करे थे, similarly हम companies में भी अब registrar of firms की बात भी जाएंगे. अब हम ROC के पास जाते हैं. Who is ROC? Registrar of companies. Write down. The company needs to get itself registered with the ROC, that is Registrar of Companies. So you will simply, the three people who have decided to form a company, now I will not take more names, Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C. ABC has decided that let's open a company. So what do you call the ABC? You will call them promoters, and now they need to file all the documents with the ROC. So what are the documents that they need to file? Number one document is MOA, that is Memorandum of Association, and AOA, that is Articles of Association. In the further presentation, you will understand today what is MOA and AOA. अभी के लिए सिर्फ ये समझ लो कि वो MOA and AOA को documents को file करेंगे, which is signed by all the subscribers to the memorandum. Subscribers means all these people who have come up with the idea, they are the promoters, they need to sign the memorandum. So all these Mr. A, B and C who are promoters of the company, they will now become the subscribers to memorandum. They will sign the copy of MOA. Memorandum is the objective of the company, why the company is being set up. And also the articles which has the internal rules and regulations, they will make those MOAs and AOAs and they will sign it and they will get it registered with the, file the documents with the registrar. Now, a declaration is also given by a person who is engaged in the formation of company. So I told you I am a chartered accountant, or maybe some advocate or cost accountant or company secretary might be helping them to form the company. So people like us who are professionals who are helping in setting up the company, they will give a declaration, they will sign that everything has been complied with, all the requirements they have seen, how the company has to be set up, minimum number of people. Say for example, ABC are setting up ABC Limited, 7 are there. And if ABC are setting up ABC Private Limited, then minimum 2 people are there. They have complied with whatever other requirements for the minimum paid up capital, for the minimum number of persons and other things have been complied. So this declaration is either given by an advocate or CA, whosoever is helping them in the formation of company. So this declaration also, number 2, we have to file the declaration. Number 3, a declaration from each of the subscribers to the memorandum and person named as first directors. Now children, who are the first directors? The directors who will be handling the company from the very first time. So how first directors are appointed, how their appointment takes place, how meetings are held is part of your CA inter syllabus. Abhi ke liye we simply have to remember that people who are signing the memorandum, and there will be few people like ABC are getting the declaration signed, they are the subscribers to memorandum, they must have named that Mr. A and Mr. B will be acting as first director. So first directors का नाम हम declaration में देकर पहले ही registrar के साथ फाइल करा. अब क्या लिखना है उस declaration में? What are the points we need to remember? He should not be convicted for any offense. आपने मूवी देखी हेरा फेरी, एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग मूवी थी हेरा फेरी. उसमें ना बड़ा हेरा फेरी टाइप की चीजें दिखाई हुई है जिसपे फ्रॉड हो रहा है. So people were saying that we will set up a company. वो एक म्यूचुअल फंड की इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपनी, सुबह तक सेट करते हैं और शाम तक कंपनी गायब. तो वो कह रहे हैं अगर आपने कोई ऐसा हेरा फेरी करी हुई है, अगर आप कन्विक्टेड हो चुके हैं, अगर आपको जेल हो चुकी है, आप पहले कोई गलत काम कर चुके हैं, तो आप कंपनी सेटअप नहीं कर सकते. See students, you have to be very careful when you are setting up a company. You should not be convicted for any offense. If you have been convicted means आपको जेल नहीं हुई होनी चाहिए. So the declaration has to be given by ABC that we are setting up the company and we have never been convicted with respect to promotion and formation of company. तो अगर आप मूवी याद करेंगे, उस मूवी में पूरी मूवी में हेरा फेरी थी, कोई कंपनी सेटअप कर रहा है, झूठ बोल रहा है, फ्रॉड कर रहा है, तो वैसा वाला काम नहीं करा होना चाहिए, तभी आप कंपनी सेटअप कर सकते हैं. ओके, दे शुड नॉट बी गिल्टी ऑफ एनी फ्रॉड. So again, breach of duty or any previous company, for the last 5 years, they should not have done any kind of fraud. All the documents which are filed with the registrar are correct and complete. अब मिस्टर ए को पता ही नहीं है कि मैंने अपना नाम ठीक लिखा है या नहीं. He has written wrong address. So this is not done. All the information that you're giving, application that you're filing with the registrar, the information should be absolutely correct and it should be complete. So what have we learned in this? Number one, there is a declaration which is given by the chartered accountants or the company secretary. Number two type of declaration is given by the subscribers themselves that we have not been convicted, we never went to jail, we were not guilty of any fraud, and whatever information we are giving is correct. समझ आ गया declaration वाला? आगे चलते हैं. Address for correspondence till the registered office is established. Now children, everyone has a beautiful name. The company will also get itself registered with a nice name. So I will cover it, what will be the name of a company when we go to memorandums name clause. But don't you think that you have an address, the place where you stay? So similarly, the company will also have a place to stay. But अभी तो उसकी registration हुई नहीं है. So वो कह रहे हैं जब तक आप register नहीं होते, so whatever address where you want the correspondence means all the communications needs to be sent to you. That address should also be written in these documents. So you have to tell them that till the time registered office is established, this is the address where all the correspondence should be sent. Now this is very generic information. Particulars means name, surname, family name, residential address, nationality of every subscriber to the memorandum. So all those Abhijit, Lakshya and Pushpa, Bhairav who were setting up the company, who were the promoters, now they will also give their names, residential address, that this is our identity. We are the people who are decided the subscribers to the memorandum. Means we have signed the memorandum and all their particulars needs to be given. And also the particulars for the persons named in the articles. So whom you have named as first directors, their director identification number, like Mr. A and B, we have named that they will be the first directors. So their name, director identification number, residential address, all the things should also be given. All right, so these are the basic information. So last 3 points generally talks about the particulars of the subscribers, particulars of the persons mentioned in the articles, and the particulars of the people who are mentioned as the first directors. All right, so the first information is about the companies, second and third is about the declaration, fourth is about the address, and fifth, sixth and seventh is about the names of the people who are subscribers to the memorandum and the directors as well as first directors. Clear ho gaya? Now what will happen? It says everybody is of the individual subscriber and not in the professional engaged. So all these professionals, I told you, companies amendment rules has given that the professional, like I am a chartered accountant who is helping, we will not be engaged in the incorporation of company because we are not the promoters. We are just helping you in the professional capacity. Issue of certificate of incorporation. Ab hoga kya? All the documents have been filed. Registrar will go through. Everything is fine. Everything is clear. Everything is complete. Then he will issue you a certificate of incorporation. So यहाँ पे simple point आपने heading learn करनी है that certificate of incorporation will be issued if registrar is satisfied that all the document information is correct. Then what will happen? He will give you a corporate identity number. जैसे आपका पैन नंबर होता है, इंडिविजुअल की आइडेंटिटी किससे है? पैन परमानेंट अकाउंट नंबर से या फिर आधार कार्ड से. Similarly, company की आइडेंटिटी corporate identity number मिल जाए. So that means every company has a distinct entity and it shall be included in the certificate. So this number, Syn number you call it, generally which is given. Once the company is registered, they are allotted a Syn number which is known as corporate identity number. This is telling you the distinct identity of this company. So whatever company, all my promoters, children who went today to the registrar, they have set up the company. So उनको एक Syn number मिल जाएगा, वो उनका personal identification number हो जाएगा उस company. ये भी बड़ा self-explanatory point है that you have to keep all the copies at the registered office, all the documents. So anytime we can come for the inspection, we can see till the time dissolution means till the time company is not wound up, till the time company doesn't come to an end, all the documents and information in the originally filed shall be kept at the registered office. So if you have opened a registered office in Delhi, say in Connaught Place, so the Connaught Place address where the office is located, all the original copies and documents shall be kept here because any time the inspection can happen. Now point number 5, 6 and 7 are very important. क्या कह रहे हैं हम? Furnishing of false or incorrect information or suppression of material facts. Suppression means दबा देना, छुपा देना. So law says if you have given any false means wrong information. If you have tried to hide any material fact, simply then you are liable for the punishment under 447. Now children, 447 is directly talking about the punishments which are given for any kind of fraud done with the documentation filing with the registrar, or any kind of material information has been suppressed while forming a company. What is section 447? 447 बहुत broad है, आपको वो सारा learn नहीं करना है. section 447 में क्या लिखा है, आपको क्या learn करना है, अगर आपने कोई गलत information दी तो आप liable हो जाओगे for the fraud which is given under section 447. Simple. ठीक है, पहला point तो ये हो गया अगर आप false information देते हो. Point number 2, company already incorporated by giving false information or by suppressing material fact post incorporation. Means now I have registered the company and then I came to know that the company was trying to cheat. Company was trying to hide the material fact. Then in such a case, any fraudulent action, the promoters, the persons who are named as first directors, all these people, number one, the promoters, the persons who are named as first directors, and even the person who has given a declaration, the chartered accountant, the other people who are giving a declaration, everyone will be held liable for the fraud under section 447. So point number 5 says at the time of incorporation, if you're hiding anything, then also you are liable under 447. And if after incorporation we have come to know, it says where at any time after incorporation it is proved, अगर ये साबित कर दिया गया कि कंपनी झूठी है, कंपनी ने फ्रॉड करा है, कुछ मटेरियल फैक्ट्स हटाए हैं, वो जैसे मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया हेरा फेरी मूवीज में ये सब चलता है, यहाँ पे केस हो जाते हैं आपके अगेंस्ट. ठीक है, ऐसे लीगली आप रॉन्ग नहीं कर सकते हो एक्ट के साथ. सो यू हैव टू बी वेरी ट्रूथफुल व्हेन यू आर सेटिंग अप अ कंपनी. ओके, so if you have done any kind of hera fairy kind of thing, then 447 will become liable. Even if you have done any false information at the time of incorporation or giving false information, it is proved post incorporation, 447 will become liable and you will be liable for the punishment for the fraud action which is given under 447. Okay. Now, 7th point is related to point number 5 and 6. पढ़ते हैं क्या कहते हैं. It says where a company has got incorporated by furnishing false information. ठीक है, हमने अभी पढ़ा कि false information. ठीक है, हमने बोल दिया कि कंपनी ने incorrect information दी तो हमें fraud हो जाएगा and 447 के against हमारे against punishment and penalty लग जाएगी. But don't you think the tribunal will also pass an order? Who is tribunal now? First of all, who is tribunal? Tribunal, National Company Law Tribunal, means the kind of a court which is dealing and resolving the company matters. So you don't need to, whenever you have any fight related to the companies, you don't need to straight away go to the high courts and Supreme Courts. You have the first direction needs to be taken from the tribunal, that is National Company Law Tribunal. So NCTLB is something which is dealing with the matters related to the company. Now tribunal is a court. You can just remember that it's a court which deals with the company matters. So now when tribunal has come to know, application has been made to the tribunal that a company was incorporated by giving false information or by suppressing material facts. मैंने आपको बताया suppressing material facts means किसी material information को छुपा देना या दबा देना. जैसे कि कोई promoters थे जो already convicted थे, jail हुई थी, but आपने hide कर दिया ये fact. So किसी तरह का भी अगर आप झूठ बोल रहे हैं, फ्रेब कर रहे हैं, false दे रहे हैं information, you're doing any fraudulent action, or even the declaration which has been filed is wrong, then tribunal, the court will take an action against such company. So these 6 points are the actions which are told what kind of action can be taken against that company. So number 1, it will say that the tribunal will pass the orders that the changes in the memorandum and articles shall be made in the interest of the company and in the members and creditors. So number 1, it says the tribunal will pass such orders that please make certain changes in your MOA and AOA. अब हमें पता लग गया that your MOA and AOA you were trying to do a fraud. So in the public interest, the first order that tribunal can pass is that please change your MOA. So for the regulation and management of the company, you should make certain changes so that you are not doing a fraudulent act. So number 1, tribunal can give the order that it can ask for making the changes in the MOA and AOA. Or, now or is very interesting. या, ठीक है, या तो वो ये order pass करेगा, या बोलेगा direct the liability of the members shall become unlimited. Now you have went to the registrar for opening a public limited or a private limited company. But if any fraudulent action has been filed, tribunal can also say that the liability of the members will now become unlimited. Obviously, it should become unlimited. Now, you're doing such a big fraud, you're trying to cheat with the registrar. Now, liability of the members will become unlimited. Or it can directly remove your name from the register of company. Simply, it will remove your name, that now you are no longer registered with the company and your name will get removed. Or it can also pass an order for the winding up, means company को बंद करने के orders pass कर दिए जा सकते हैं. Or any such order as a deemed. जो भी tribunal को उस time पे ठीक लगे, वो किसी तरह का भी order दे सकते. But हमने learn क्या करना है? If any fraudulent action has been done, then these 6 actions can be taken by the tribunal. Number 1, tribunal can ask for the changes in memorandum and articles of the company, or it can make the liability of the members unlimited, or it can remove the name of the company, or it can pass the order for the winding up of the company, or whatever it deemed fit. अब इसमें बहुत broad आ गया, जो भी मेरा मन करे. So अगर उसे लगे कुछ और action लेना है, तो जो भी tribunal deems fit, means जो भी tribunal को order ठीक रहेगा, वो ये pass करेगा. But before passing such orders, जैसे कि हम हमेशा करते हैं, वो कहते हैं ना कंपनीज एक्ट में या लॉ में हम हमेशा पढ़ते हैं, किसी को पनिश करने से पहले हम अपॉर्चुनिटी देते हैं हियरिंग की. जैसे एक्सपल्शन ऑफ पार्टनर्स में हम जब उसे फर्म से निकाल रहे थे तो हम उसे नोटिस देते थे, हियरिंग देते. तो हमेशा लॉ में आप किसी को भी दंड कहते हैं ना, पनिश करने से पहले एक अपनी अपॉर्चुनिटी जरूर देते हैं कि आप आकर प्लीज बोल लीजिए, अपनी पेशी कर दीजिए. तो इसका मतलब ये होता है. सो कंपनी शैल बी गिवन एन अपॉर्चुनिटी ऑफ बीइंग हर्ड. So you will invite the company, please come and tell what was the reason, why did you do so. So before passing the order, number 1, opportunity of hearing should be given. And also if company has contracted for any transactions, then the company shall pay those liabilities. And during this time, if company has entered into any kind of transactions and contracted any liability, then the company will become liable to pay as well. Okay, so these are the 7 points which you have to remember under section 3(7), which are given for the formation of company. So it says section 3 tells you how the company is formed, and section 7 tells you the entire steps which are needed to taken up for the filing of incorporation. So if you have filed the documents correctly, 2 types of declarations need to be given, and the 4th points for the particulars of the people who are subscribing, directors, everything is correct. Certificate is issued, allotment of Syn number is done. You need to maintain your copies and documents. And point number 5, 6, and 7 are interrelated, which says that if any false information has been given, 447 will become applicable and liable for the fraud. And 7th point simply says that these are A, B, C, D, E 6 points where the tribunal can pass an order for any of the action can be taken if the company has done any fraudulent thing in filing the documents with the registrar. But before doing so, company will be given an opportunity of being formed. Now, this small paragraph is very simple. It says simplified form for incorporating the company electronically. It says nowadays Ministry of Company Affairs उन्होंने अपनी website पे spice form add कर दिया. So since in COVID also we were not able to physically hold the classes, and we tried the help of technology, maybe through Zoom or through MS Teams or any other procedures, we will try to connect with you. So similarly, it says Ministry of Corporate Affairs has also taken an initiative that websites has everything electronically has been provided to the companies. So now it has simplified the process of setting up a business. So you don't know, no need to go to the registrar of companies directly. You can do everything electronically. जैसे हम टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज करके आपके साथ क्लासेस ले रहे हैं, ऐसे ही कल को आप अगर आप कंपनी सेटअप करना चाहते हैं तो आप सिंपल MCA साइट पे जाएं, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट अफेयर्स की वेबसाइट खोलें, वहां पे स्पाइस फॉर्म होता है विच इज सिंप्लीफाइड परफॉर्मा फॉर इनकॉर्पोरेटिंग कंपनी इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली. You simply need to fill that form and you can get the filing requirements complied with. So now all the hassles of going to the registrar office and filing the documents has been simplified by providing them an online opportunity to fill the spice form and get the company incorporated electronically. समझ गए? So ये छोटा सा पैराग्राफ सिर्फ आपको टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज बता रहा है कि अब आपको जाने की जरूरत नहीं, आप इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली मीन्स ऑनलाइन भी कंपनी सेटअप का प्रोसीजर हेल्प ले सकते हैं. Section 9 is again a very important section. Children, entire Companies Act is very important. So don't keep wondering, ma'am is saying again and again it's important. It is important, okay? So कहने का मतलब ये होता है कि कोई टॉपिक छोड़ना नहीं है. अब सेक्शन 9 में ना जनरली बच्चे अभी क्वेरीज में भी लिखते जा रहे हैं, मैम प्लीज कैन यू एक्सप्लेन झुंझुन वाला केस लॉ, व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ हरिनगर शुगर मिल्स, स्ट्रेट ट्रेडिंग कॉर्पोरेशन, स्पेंसर एंड कंपनी लिमिटेड, हेवी इलेक्ट्रिकल यूनियन। ट्रस्ट में मैंने अभी ये चैप्टर पढ़ाना भी नहीं शुरू करा था और पहले ही दिन ना मुझे बच्चों ने क्वेरीज में ये वाले केस लॉज पूछे हुए थे. So at that time I told you, be little patient, I will explain you. So today and now is the time when we are going to talk about these case laws. So number one, section 9 is important, but it is very, very simple. Effect of registration. Section 9 कह क्या रहा है? क्या कहता है section 9? Section 9 telling now the company is registered, you have got a certificate of incorporation. Therefore, now the people who were subscriber to the memorandums from time to time will now become the members in the company. So nothing new they have told you, something which I have been thinking since the beginning of the class, that those people who were signing the memorandum will now become the members of the company. And what will the company become? Company will now become a body corporate having its perpetual succession. So all the points that we learned, the features of the company, now on registration, the company will get its corporate legal identification. Company has a separate legal entity, perpetual succession, common seal, everything that we learned on day one, features of the company, 7 features, will now, company will get those features after the registration. So it says this date of incorporation, this certificate of incorporation is the proof that company has now been set up. What is the meaning of company has been set up? Means people who were subscribing to the memorandums, number one, they have become the members of the company. Number two, company is a body corporate, which means company has a separate legal existence. And number three, company has a perpetual succession. All right. So effect of registration means the people who were signing will become members. Company will have a succession, perpetual succession. And point number 4 is company can acquire, hold and dispose of the property. I told you day one features, company is an artificial judicial person. Company can hold property in its name. Company can dispose of the property. And point number 5, company can sue and be sued by its own name. तो ये इफेक्ट ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन कुछ आपको नई बात नहीं बता रहे, सिंपल आपको फीचर्स ऑफ कंपनीज बता रहे हैं कि जब सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ इनकॉर्पोरेशन मिल गया, ठप्पा लग गया, तो आप एक कंपनी सेपरेट लीगल एंटिटी बन गई, परपेचुअल सक्सेशन हो गई, जिन्होंने मेमोरेंडम साइन करे वो मेंबर्स बन गए हैं, मिनिमम 2 प्राइवेट कंपनी, मिनिमम 7 पब्लिक कंपनी, 1 इन केस ऑफ 1% कंपनी, एंड कंपनी नंबर 4 आर्टिफिशियल जुडिशियल पर्सन है, इट कैन होल्ड प्रॉपर्टी इन इट्स ओन नेम, एंड कंपनी कैन सू एंड बी सू, मीन्स कंपनी के अगेंस्ट एक्शन भी लिया जा सकता है और कंपनी के नाम पे भी केस लड़ा जा सकता है. समझ आ गया? So section 9 is very, very simple. It is simply telling you that what are the features of the company. Now in all these 4 or 5 case laws, again study singing only simple song that company is a separate legal entity. How it is trying to tell you, let's read it one by one and you will remember that it becomes very simple. Now children, when I'm telling you the meanings of this, so your notebooks should be there. Number 1 point, section 9, likh lijiye, effect of registration means all the features of the company will now come into existence after getting the certificate of incorporation. So आपको बार बार भूलना नहीं पड़ेगा, आपको ये ढूंढना नहीं पड़ेगा कि आप सेक्शन 9 क्या कहता है. सेक्शन 9 सिंपली ये जो मैंने आपको 5-6 पॉइंट्स बताए हैं इनके बारे में बात. अब पॉइंट नंबर 2 आप लिखेंगे जब मैं आपको ये वाला केस एक्सप्लेन करूँ. It says from the date of incorporation mentioned in the certificate. Now this is again very, very interesting and my favorite line. So for example, ABC Limited got registered and the date which is mentioned in the certificate is 5th October. Okay, so I mentioned that you are registered from 5th October 2020. And when I gave you the certificate, it was 7th October 2020. Which is the date that I have to see? It says the date of incorporation which is mentioned in the certificate. Now if company does any allotment of shares maybe on 5th or on 6th of October, it will be considered valid. Even if I have received the certificate on 7th, the company is said to be incorporated from the date which is mentioned in the certificate. So if 5th October is the date mentioned in the certificate, company has come into existence on 5th of October. बस इतनी सी बात ही कह रहे हैं, समझ आ गया? So date mentioned in the certificate is important. Company becomes a legal entity. हम सबको पता है company एक separate legal entity बन जाएगी. So from 5th October the company is separate, shareholders are separate. and a binding contract exists between the company and members. Simple. It has perpetual succession until it is dissolved by liquidation. The only interesting point which was held under Harinagar Sugar Mills Limited versus SS Jhunjhunwala was a shareholder who is buying the shares does not buy any interest in the company's property. However, in certain cases, a writ petition can still be filed by the company or the shareholders. This point is simply telling you that it is simply telling you, this first case law is telling you, company's property is separate from members. What is held by the company, it is company's property. It says even if all the shareholders, if the shareholder buy all the shares also, remember Makora case in which he was having all the shares except one. So 99% shareholding was there, still he could not have the insurable interest. Insurance company did not give him the money because the timber had to be insured in the company's name. This case law is also telling you the same thing, that the property of company is separate from the member's property. Company's property is never the member's property. You can never have an insurable interest. So company ki property is separate from the members company. Because why? Because company is a separate legal entity. तो कंपनी की प्रॉपर्टी अलग है, मेंबर्स की प्रॉपर्टी अलग है. बस इतना ही झुंझुनवाले के केस में बताया जा रहा है. Even if the shareholder is holding all the shares, he cannot buy interest in the property of company. Means then also the company's property will remain separate. It will not automatically become the property of the share. Clear हो गया? Filing a writ petition is again something which you will understand in CA Inter, where you can file a petition in High Court. You can go. So, for example, there are certain shareholders who have given certain loan amount to the company. Then they can still take a writ petition, can be filed, a case can be filed against the company for recovery of that money. But in never case, the company's property will become the shareholders' property. पार्टनरशिप में फर्म की प्रॉपर्टी पार्टनर्स की प्रॉपर्टी थी, कंपनी में कंपनी की प्रॉपर्टी सेपरेट है, शेयर होल्डर सेपरेट. What was held in straight trading corporation? It says a legal personality emerges. We all have understood from the moment the company is registered, and the persons joining the members are regarded as body corporate. Again, singing the same song, that the company is separate, having a separate legal existence from its members. So even when State Trading Incorporation filed a case with commercial tax officer, they also said the same thing, that the on registration company gets a separate legal existence and it is separate from its members. Okay, now we all know this thing, so nothing new in this. Spencer and Company Limited Madras versus CWT Madras. Now what was held over here? Here it is going to talk about holding and subsidiary relationship. You can write down in the third case law, the company, the law is trying to tell you, even if the company is holding the shares in another company. So I told you A company is holding 50% shares in B. So A becomes a holding, B becomes a subsidiary. But even after becoming a subsidiary of a company, the company does not loses its corporate character. It still remains a separate legal entity. It says a company may purchase the shares and become a controlling company. Okay, yes, we know holding company ho sakti hai. But just because a company is purchasing all the shares does not mean that you are putting an end to the corporate character of another company. Subsidiary company still remains a separate juristic entity. That's it. So point number 1 is telling you company's property is different. Point number 2, he's trying to tell you that the company has a separate legal existence. Point number 3, even if a company is holding all the shares of subsidiary company, then also the subsidiary company still has a separate legal entity concept. It does not put an end to its corporate character. And in the fourth case law, which is named as Heavy Electrical Union versus State of Bihar, here he is trying to tell you that even if the entire share capital is held by central government or by the President of India or all the offices, it will not make difference that the registered company, and it will not make the company merely an agent either of the President or central government. कहने का मतलब अगर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने सारी शेयर कैपिटल भी आपकी होल्ड कर ली, या फिर एबीसी लिमिटेड की सारी शेयर्स आर बीइंग हेल्ड बाय प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया, then also the company still have its separate legal entity. It will not become an agent of the president or the central government. So please write down in point number 4, even if all the shares are held by central government and by President of India or any other officers of central government, the company still has a separate legal entity, and such a company will not merely become an agent of the government. Simple सी बात है. So effect of registration you all have understood. Let's have a quick revision and then we'll take a small break. So effect of registration, it says on registration or incorporation, on filing all the documents, company gets the existence, separate legal existence. Company is now incorporated. It has a perpetual succession. How it was identified on the basis of 4 established case laws we have learned. In the first case law, company's property is separate from the members' property. Members can never hold the property of the company. Second case law directly tells you that a company is separate and shareholders are separate, which we have understood in Salomon versus Salomon and Company Limited also. In the third case law, holding subsidiary relationship also, it says if a company is holding all the shares in a company, then also the subsidiary company still has the concept of separate legal entity. It will not lose its personal identity. And in the fourth case, the effect of registration, it says that even if central government or the president of India is also holding all the shares, then also the company still has its separate legal entity. It will not simply become the agent of the government. Okay, so just digest all the information that I've told you, and we get to do a lot of syllabus. So just take 2 minutes break and we will continue further. Thank you. All right, welcome back, students. So many queries you're asking, and children who are asking, ma'am, do we need to learn all the cases of section 9? Please, it's not mandatory. Already you have so much information to grab. So बच्चा सिर्फ जो मैंने आपको 4 पॉइंट्स बताया ना, सिर्फ क्रक्स जो बताया आपको समरी, उतना ही आपको लर्न करना है. Okay? And then, thank you, Vijit Kumar. Yes, Garma, if some fake proofs, yes, if you're not, see, it has to be proved. If you're saying that you were 447 is something, a very harsh kind of section. Those who are asking, ma'am, what is the liability of 447, forget it. इतनी information दी है, पर study में वो learn करनी है, हमने ज़्यादा नहीं जाना है उसमें. They said that you will become liable for section 447. You still feel like you want to learn entire 447, feel free to open Companies Act and learn it if you have that much time. Otherwise, what is required for Anjali Ramnath to learn, that is, if you commit any kind of fraud while submitting the documents, 447 will become applicable. Wherever they have told you the provisions, like in section 8, subsection 11, they have told you the fine of 10 lakhs, 1 crore, whatever they have mentioned. Those are the figures which you have to learn. Okay, where the figures have been mentioned, the contravention, those are the amounts that you need to learn, but that's it. Nothing you have to go beyond that. All right, children? So similarly, Garima, if any fake proofs have been given and the company was not actually guilty, then this thing needs to be proved in front of the tribunal. Many of you are asking, ma'am, what is the meaning of tribunal? So once again, I'm telling you that tribunal is a kind of a court which is handling the company law matters. National Company Law Tribunal means a tribunal. It is a kind of court wherever you have any disputes or disagreements, you can go to the tribunal and you can settle those disputes. जैसे कि आपको और मेरी लड़ाई झगड़ा हुआ तो हम कोर्ट जाते हैं ना, तो इस तरह से कंपनी मैटर्स के लिए ट्राइब्यूनल इज अ कोर्ट. ठीक है, सो इट इज नथिंग, नॉट वेरी टफ, इट इज सिंपली टेलिंग यू, आप ऐसे याद रख लीजिए कि एक कोर्ट है जहाँ पे हम कंपनी मैटर्स को रिजॉल्व करने के लिए फाइल करते हैं. ऑर्डर ऑफ ट्राइब्यूनल इज ऑलवेज फाइनल. सो दिस इज अ काइंड ऑफ नोट्स दैट आई हैव मेड इन द पीपीटी. सो नेशनल कंपनी लॉ ट्राइब्यूनल मींस द ट्राइब्यूनल व्हिच टेक्स अप ऑल द मैटर्स रिलेटेड टू द कंपनीज. ओके. All right, students, don't worry about your CA inter classes. It's too early to worry about that. You first do well in your finals, in your foundation, and then you see what you have to do in inter also. Okay. In amendments, see, Aditya Soni, only the amendments which are applicable for Companies Act, CA Foundation, that only we have to do, not for the CA inter and other classes. All right, students, so we have a lot of syllabus yet to finish, and first let me finish up the syllabus. I'll try to take up extra 10-15 minutes today since it's the last class, and I'll take up your queries at the end. So this is your effective registration, which you have to remember. OPC has clearly mentioned it's submitted, and I really wished I could do this case study with you. So shall we do it or shall we just skip it to the end? So this is basically a representation of January 2021. Exactly the question has come. Okay, quickly, let's do it. A company was registered as public company and there were 245 members. And उन्होंने members का breakup आपको दिया हुआ है. Directors and their relatives were 190, employees were 15, and ex-employees were 20, including 10 joint holders. So ex-employees were 20 and there were 10 joint holders, which were totally combined into the 20. Now the board of directors is trying to convert its company into a private company. So whether any reduction in number of members is required. Now, why he's asking you such a question? You remember that in case of private limited company, minimum number of members were 2 and maximum we can have 200. So he's saying now they're having 245 members and this is the breakup that is given. Can we convert it or we first need to reduce the number of members? So I know you all know the answers, but still you can see the answers. It's a 4 marks question. अब हमें simply बताना है कि 200 members करने के लिए हमें कम करने पड़ेंगे या उसी के साथ हम कर सकते हैं. Okay, so let's see. ABC Limited was having 245 members. First of all, you have to, if you get such a kind of question, I'm telling you now how you have to write an answer. Answer आप सबको पता है, मुझे पता है, but आपने लिखना कैसे, presentation ऐसे होनी चाहिए. First of all, you have to write the provision. This is the provision to which it relates. So the topic relates to the definition of private companies. So if you remember the section, well and good. Otherwise, you can simply say Companies Act 2013 says a private company can limit the number of members to 200 This is the entire definition, that where two or more persons are appointed and following persons shall not be included in the number of members. Who? People who are in the employment of the company and who have formerly been in the employment of the company will not be included. तो हमने ये सीखा था 200 मेंबर्स में एम्प्लॉइज काउंट नहीं होते हैं. तो पहले आप अपने आंसर में प्रोविजन बता दोगे that this is the section to which it deals. Now what are the facts of the case? It says ABC Limited has members constituting directors and their relatives, employees, ex-employees also, and other 10 joint holders. So for 20 joint holders, together we are going to count them as 10. So employees and ex-employees is the extra information that they have given to us. Those will anyways will be excluded. Why they are excluded? Because section 2 subsection 68 में definition में लिखा है कि आप members की definition में employees को count नहीं कर सकते हो. So section 2 subsection 68 says members will not be counting the employees. So here this 190 directors will be counted, but 15 employees and ex-employees 20 will not be counted. But what about these others 10 joint holders? So joint holders will always be considered as together. Okay, it is written over here again. After the members cease to be in employment, one or more share is held jointly, it will be treated as a single member. Where two or more persons hold one or more shares in a company jointly, it will be treated as single member. So simple maths, अगर 20 है तो single hold कर रहे हैं jointly, तो उसको कितना कर देंगे हम 10. Okay. So now what is the number of members? 190 directors and 10 joint holders. Therefore it says that since the members are only 200, therefore it can simply convert itself into private company and there is no need to reduce the number of members. Why? Because the condition of maximum 200 members is being met. समझ आ गया आपको? So simple questions like these will be coming in exam. They will not straight away ask you what is a private company, but एक case study दे दी जाएगी. Answer उसका definition के ऊपर ही based है. All right. I hope you have understood. Revise it, learn. This is the presentation. आप पूछते हो ना आंसर कैसे लिखना है, ये ऐसे मैंने आपको लिखकर बता दिया. इस तरह से आपको facts of the case conclusion answer देना. ये straight away question आया हुआ है charitable purpose का section 8 6 marks. So whole of the 6 marks you can score if you write all the significant points written in the study material. This is again about the associate company. So information has been given to you that the company is having 40 crores and 15 crores convertible debentures and non-convertible debentures. However, the share capital is 100 crores and 120 crore debentures. So you have to define associate company and also comment whether they can be called associate company. So what was for the associate company? Significant influence needs to be seen. If you are controlling 20% of the share capital, again, definition has to be given first of all, that associate company means a company which is not a subsidiary company and it is having a significant influence and also includes a joint venture. So for that associate 20%, we remember that we have to include paid up capital as well as convertible preference share capital. So you will simply calculate. This is the definition you will give. Then you will go to the facts of the case that ABC has allotted the equity share. If they are having 15 crore, which is less than 20% control. So keep on doing your maths calculations later on. So 100% controlled, you need to have a 20 crore share minimum. However, the company has already told you that he's having 15% share. Therefore, it will not be considered as a associate company. Information about the allotment of non-convertible debentures has no relevance. He has just given you the information about the debentures to confuse you. If you go to the definition, you simply have to see the equity and preference share capital holding. And that was 100 crore total capital. उसका अगर आप 20% करते हैं तो 20 crore minimum contribution holding होनी चाहिए थी, तभी associate बनेगा. But यहाँ पे सिर्फ 15 crore shares voting rights के साथ hold कर रहे हैं. Therefore, they are not associate company. Simple. Now children, classification of capital फटाफट से कर लेते हैं. This is something again your accounting related information, but we have to have a flip through. Number one, nominal capital. Nominal capital is also known as authorized share capital. Children, this is the maximum capital which the company can raise. So for example, आप लोग आज Saturday है, weekend है, तो आप you're very excited that today we are getting free of all our classes for law and let's go to the mall and party. So when you went to the mall, you asked your mother, please give me 10,000 rupees. This is the maximum that I'm going to carry with me. So now maximum amount, see आपने 10,000 carry करे, मतलब आपने एक figure सोच ली कि इसके beyond मैंने नहीं जाना. अब अगर मुझे temptation हो भी रही है that I have purchased everything from 10,000, I still want to spend but I have figured out myself that a maximum limit has been set for my shopping. Similarly, nominal unauthorized capital says that this is the maximum amount that the company can raise. It says authorized capital. मैं कितने की authorized हूँ? It reads out the definition. This is the capital which is authorized by the memorandum to be the maximum amount of share capital of the company. The company needs to be registered with the maximum amount which is authorized by raising shares and also upon which it pays the stamp duty. So company also sets a maximum limit for it. जैसे आपने पर्सनल एग्जांपल में अभी समझा, शॉपिंग के लिए आप एक फिगर फिक्स करते हो, इसी तरह से कंपनी भी एक मैक्सिमम लिमिट फिक्स कर देती है कि सपोज फॉर एग्जांपल 10 करोड़. So company has decided I will not go beyond 10 crore. This is my maximum limit that we have decided that we will be raising capital up till 10 crore. अब चिल्ड्रन एबीसी लिमिटेड ने सोचा है कंपनी खोलने का और उन्होंने नॉमिनल ऑथराइज्ड शेयर कैपिटल 10 करोड़ ले ली. But do you think it is very easy to directly raise 10 crore? So issued capital means how much capital we have actually invited the public to raise from. So issued capital is the capital which is issued from time to time for the subscription. आपको पता है ना कंपनी ऐसी ही चलती है, हम शेयर्स इशू करेंगे, फिर शेयर एप्लीकेशन मनी लोग देते हैं, अलॉटमेंट होता है, फर्स्ट कॉल, सेकंड कॉल. दिस इज हाउ पीपल टेक अप मनी एंड इन्वेस्ट द शेयर्स इन अ कंपनी. So issued capital is out of the authorized. Let's assume I have taken 6 crores as the issued capital. We thought that okay, this will only be given to the public for subscription. Now subscribed capital means the capital part of the issued capital which is being subscribed by the members. So now we have to call the money from the subscribers. How much money is actually taken by the public? So subscribed capital is the capital which is being invested by the shareholders. How many has been subscribed? So simply it says out of the nominal capital, we have to find out how much is the issued capital. Can the issued capital be more than the authorized capital? The answer is no. Always the maximum limit is set up in the authorized, and nominal capital tells you the maximum limit. Out of the authorized, you always have the issued capital. उसके बाद आती है आपकी सब्सक्राइब्ड कैपिटल. मींस द कैपिटल व्हिच इज बीइंग सब्सक्राइब्ड बाय द मेंबर्स ऑफ द कंपनी. इट इज द नॉमिनल अमाउंट ऑफ द शेयर्स व्हिच इज टेकन बाय द पब्लिक. हमने नोटिस दिया, एडवर्टाइजमेंट दिया, सब कुछ करा, कंपनी ने बोला अब हमारी ऑथराइज्ड एंड इशूड कैपिटल निकल चुकी है, कितने मेंबर्स सब्सक्राइब करने आ रहे हैं. सो से फॉर एग्जांपल द मेंबर्स हु सब्सक्राइब टू द कैपिटल वाज 5 करोड़. So we could get the application for the 5 crores is the subscribed capital. Now out of this 5 crore subscribed capital, let's assume there are 50 lakhs shares taken for rupees 10. Okay. So how is this breakup of 5 crores? It says 50 lakhs shares has been subscribed. So out of 10 lakhs shares, we have issued 6 lakhs shares and public has subscribed for 60 lakhs shares. Public has now subscribed for 50 lakhs shares. Okay, so this is how the 5 crore subscribed capital was worked out. Now, what is the meaning of called up capital? It is saying this is the part of the capital which has been called for the payment, total amount which has been called on these shares. So, children, called up capital is very important. You always know that the company take the money from the public kind of installments. So, कभी हम पहले तो शेयर एप्लीकेशन मनी आ जाती है, उसके बाद हम अलॉटमेंट करते हैं, फिर फर्स्ट कॉल, सेकंड कॉल, फाइनल कॉल. सो एक ही बारी में कंपनी डज नॉट रेज द मनी, इट कॉल्स द इन्विटेशंस. सो इंस्टॉलमेंट्स में पैसा आता है. सो कॉल्ड अप कैपिटल इज द अमाउंट व्हिच हैज बीन कॉल्ड फॉर पेमेंट. So say out of 50 lakhs, if company has just called up amount of rupees 8. So if for 50 lakhs, company has just called up 8, so that means 4 crores is the called up capital in our respective example. So what will we say? We will say that this is the 4 crore. Let me just clear it once again. So we said that nominal, the maximum share capital that we have taken was for 10 crores. 10 CR I'm writing here. Issued capital is the capital which has been issued to the public for subscription 6 crore, and actually the public subscribed for 5 crores. So 5 crores breakup was 50 lakhs rupees 10 per share. Now how much money the company has called for? So company has just called for 4 crore, which I just showed you the breakup. So now out of rupees 10 per share, the company has so far, I told you, installments पे पैसा लेते हैं हम, एकदम से सारा पैसा नहीं raise हो पाता. So if company has called up the amount for rupees 8, that means rupees 2 is the uncalled amount, which is yet to be called. So company can call it at any time, but as of now, the called up capital is 50 lakhs at rate of rupees 8, which makes it to be 4 crore rupees called up capital. Now, what is the paid up capital? Children, paid up capital is the actual capital which needs to be seen if you are deciding to make any investment in the company. So paid up capital, simply write down, it is the total amount paid on the shares issued. It is equal to called up capital less calls in arrears, something which has not been yet paid. So let's take an example. In the same example, if we have invited the subscriptions for 50 lakhs, and if out of rupees 8, the shareholders actually paid rupees 6. So now my paid up capital will be rupees 3 crores. So if I have to make a decision in investing in this company, what is the capital that I have to see? 10 crores or 3 crores? I always have to see the paid up capital. Actually में कितनी capital paid up हो चुकी है? Actually में कितनी subscription, share allotment, final call receive हो चुकी है? This is the exact figure of paid up capital. That is why it is said that whenever you're investing, if you see the balance sheet, a lot of information is given in the balance sheet, like over here, that this is the issued capital, this is the subscribed capital, this is paid up capital. But whenever you invest in a company, you always have to be seen how much is the paid up capital. That means how much the capital has been paid up on the shares which were issued. So if you have decided out of 10 crores, 10 lakhs, the issued was 60 lakhs and people actually subscribed for 50 lakhs. Now we have to see how much was the called up. Company called up for rupees 8 per share. 4 crore was the called up capital and how much was actually paid up. You can remember this example that out of rupees 8, 6 rupees has been paid up so far. Therefore, 3 crore will be the paid up capital. One-liner definition is given in your study material. Simply, you have to learn that information. Now, children, we will not be wasting too much time on shares. Simple definition of shares you have to remember is it is the interest in the company. For example, A purchased 20,000 shares in Reliance. So that means A is having interest in Reliance up till rupees 20,000. So share की definition क्या होती है? Section 2 subsection 84 में जो सिर्फ एक line definition की दी है, that you have to remember that share is the share in the share capital of a company. Means how much interest you have in a respective company, how much right you are having in a company. That is the meaning of share. Okay. So this is just a mere information. Share is an interest in the company. It is a movable property. It shall be numbered. You simply have to give it a fair reading. What is important is what is equity shares and preference shares. तो दो तरह के shares होते हैं. आप accounts में भी ये अच्छे से पढ़ चुके हो. Preference shares कौन से shares होते हैं? Preference share capital are the shares which are given preference on the payment of dividend and on the repayment of tax. से कंपनी एबीसी लिमिटेड अगर वो बंद होने जा रही है तो सबसे पहले आप रीपेमेंट किसकी करते हो? प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स की. प्रेफरेंस नाम ही आपको बता रहा है कि इनको प्रेफरेंस प्रायोरिटी दी जाती है. सो ड्यूरिंग द लाइफ टाइम ऑफ द कंपनी इनको डिविडेंड के ऊपर प्रेफरेंस मिलती है एंड व्हेन द कंपनी गोज इनटू वाइंडिंग अप दे गेट अ प्रेफरेंस ऑन द रीपेमेंट. Okay, nothing much to learn. Simple definition has been given in study material. Just go through it. This is something that you need to understand. Equity share capital. So it says all the share capital other than preference share is known as equity share capital. तो पहले हमने preference की definition learn करनी है जिनको preference मिलती है for dividends and repayment of capital. What is equity share capital? Other than preference is the equity share capital. Points to remember: they can be with uniform voting rights and they can be with DVRs. DVRs means differential voting right. अब इसका मतलब क्या होता है? This is something interesting. It says sometimes you get the equity shares with uniform voting rights. Means one share, 1% right. 20,000 shares, 20% right. So whatever is my uniform voting rights, how much shares I'm holding, I get that voting rights. But a very interesting example and given the study material of Tata Motors, which I would like to read from the study. It says Tata Motors in 2008 introduced equity shares with differential voting rights. It called it A equity shares in its right issue. तो एक टाटा मोटर्स ने 2008 में एक शेयर निकाला कि हम DVRs इशू कर रहे हैं, डिफरेंशियल वोटिंग राइट. Now what used to happen? It says every 10 equity shares will carry one voting right and 5% additional dividend will be given then declared on the ordinary shares. What does it mean? It says it will not carry the similar voting rights. Means one voting right will be given for one share otherwise, but in differential voting right for 10 shares one voting right is given. मतलब अगर आप एक शेयर होल्ड कर रहे थे तो आपको 1% वोटिंग राइट मिल रहा था. इस 2008 में जो टाटा मोटर्स ने शेयर निकाला ए इक्विटी शेयर, उसने कहा अगर आप 10 इक्विटी शेयर्स होल्ड करते हो मेरी कंपनी में, उसके लिए यू गेट 1 वोटिंग राइट। अनफेयर हो गया ना थोड़ा, 10 इक्विटी शेयर्स होल्ड करने पड़ेंगे आपको 1% वोटिंग राइट लेने के लिए, बट extra 5% dividend will be given than those which are given on the ordinary shares. So differential voting rights means where you have a different kind of voting rights. You need to hold 10 shares in order to get 1 voting right, but extra dividend is given in order to, so higher the risk, higher the profits. So here you holding higher percentage of shares are given, but lesser voting rights is given, but the dividend can be varied. For example, in this particular example, they are saying 10 equity shares will have 1 voting right and 5% extra dividend can be given. Other companies which have issued so far the differential voting rights are called Future Retail, Jain Irrigation, among others. So these are just the mere companies which have issued the DVRs. आपको एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है, व्हाट इज इक्विटी शेयर कैपिटल एंड प्रेफरेंस शेयर कैपिटल, आपने इनकी डेफिनेशन लिख देनी है। इक्विटी शेयर कैपिटल 2 तरह के होते हैं, यूनिफॉर्म वोटिंग राइट, 1 शेयर 1 वोटिंग राइट, differential voting rights. Give this example of Tata Motors in 2008 they have issued where 10 equity shares were to be taken and only 1 voting right was given. However, extra dividend is given for these kind of DVRs. Simple. Okay? And after that, a small information is given in the study material where it is written when the capital shall deem to be the preference capital. So wherever you are getting any right on the dividend and right on the repayment of capital, it says then such kind of capital will deem to be preference share capital. And even if you have a right to participate over and above these rights, okay, I'll just take up from there so that you know what I'm reading. It's already 12:30 children, so much information is left. So children, this is the classification of capital. You simply have to remember 1 points, number of shares, आप एक fair reading दे देंगे। ये छोटा सा पैराग्राफ बिकॉज आपने क्वेरीज में भी पूछा हुआ है मैम इसका मतलब क्या है। द कैपिटल, ये तो आपको समझ आ गया प्रेफरेंस शेयर कैपिटल क्या होती है। वो कहते हैं कैपिटल शेल डीम टू बी प्रेफरेंस, अगर आपको डिविडेंड में प्रेफरेंस मिल रही है और आपको कैपिटल रीपेमेंट में अगर प्रेफरेंस मिलती है, इफ यू हैव द राइट टू पार्टिसिपेट, इसके अलावा अगर आपको पार्टिसिपेशन का भी राइट मिल जाता है, देन इट विल डीम टू बी अ प्रेफरेंस कैपिटल। Okay, so now we are going to start a very important topic which talks about the memorandum of association and articles of association. Children, in memorandum and articles of association, there are huge number of case laws which yes you have to remember. आप मुझे पूछ रहे थे रजिस्ट्रेशन वाले, चाहे हम ना रिमेंबर करें, रजिस्ट्रेशन सेक्शन 9 में आपने वही इंफॉर्मेशन याद रखनी है जो मैंने आपको बताई है। नेम ऑफ द केस लॉज इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट, बट इन MOAs and AOAs, नेम ऑफ द केस लॉज इज very very important. What is memorandum of a company? It says it's the charter of the company. It gives you the definition and powers of the company. So how I have made the company, what my company is into, what is the object of the company, the shareholders and creditors who are dealing with me need to read the powers which are given to a company. All these things are written in a memorandum of association. Okay, so memorandum of association is a very important public document which contains all the information about the company, what is its name, where it is located, who are the people who are dealing with the company, what is the motive of this company. It is written in the memorandum of association. So for example, I am Harleen Kaur and I'm running an education institution. So my memorandum of association will clearly tell you that I am providing education to private sectors or maybe trainings to particular sectors. But if someone comes and do a contract with me that we want manufacturing of cloth, is it valid? It's not valid. My company ABC Education Limited is dealing into education. How can you enter into a contract with me which is outside the scope of my objective? So what is the objective of the company is always written in the memorandum of association. Section 399 says memorandum is a public document. Any person who is dealing with a company is required to have the knowledge of the memorandum. Very important. If Mr. A wants to have a dealing with me, please, before coming to me, read my memorandum of association. Otherwise, Mr. A, an outsider, will be at fault and not the company. It says the shareholders must know the purpose for which the money is to be used. Therefore, the entire objective of the company should be written in the memorandum of association and it is a public document. Means जब मैंने आपको section 7 में बताया कि हम रजिस्ट्रार के साथ रजिस्टर करते हैं, तो जब मैं अपना MOA और AOA फाइल कर देती हूँ वो एक पब्लिक डॉक्यूमेंट बन जाता है मीन्स कोई भी ऑडियंस पब्लिक में से अगर मेरी कंपनी में डील करना चाहती है, कोई भी शेयर होल्डर्स क्रेडिटर्स मेरे से पैसा लेना देना करना चाहते हैं, तो वो मेरा कंपनी का मेमोरेंडम पढ़कर आएंगे, उन्हें पता होना चाहिए कि कंपनी करती क्या. So shareholders must know the purpose for which the money can be used and what risk they are taking in making the investment. So you will not blindly go and invest your money in a company. You will always read a MOA of the company, and then only you take a wise decision whether you want to invest in this company or not. All right, so memorandum is a very important document. It tells you what is the objective of the company. Now, this is just a mere information कि table A, B, C, D, E दिया हुआ है कि companies के memorandums किस format में होते हैं. It gives you the tabular information. Just a reading can be given. Contents of the memorandum is the most important document, is the most important topic, children. So first content of the memorandum is name clause. So I have been telling you again and again that if you are having a public company, word limited is to be used. If you are a private company, private limited is to be used. If you are an OPC, then word OPC is to be used. See, in MCA, in notification of January 2015 has said that a company with OPC must have the word OPC included below its name. So the name clause tells about the name of the company. All of you have such a nice name: Abhijit Kumar, Sneha, Srishti, Sakshi, and all those who are written over here: Sushmita, Rishu, Ashu, Aditya Pathak, Chandan. So all these are the names जो आपके हैं. Similarly, कंपनी का भी एक नाम होता है. So कंपनी के नाम के बाद आप जैसे चंदन कुमार ने ओपीसी खोली तो कंपनी का नाम हो जाएगा चंदन ओपीसी. अगर सौम्या भट्टाचार्य एंड कार्तिका ने प्राइवेट लिमिटेड खोली तो सौम्या कार्तिका प्राइवेट लिमिटेड. अगर प्रथुल एंड साहिल पब्लिक लिमिटेड कंपनी बना रहे हैं तो साहिल एंड प्रथुल लिमिटेड कंपनी. तो इस तरह से आपके नेम्स में ये सब वर्ड्स इंक्लूड होते हैं. सेक्शन 8 की इंपॉर्टेंट बातचीत को ये बता रहा है कि नेम्स लाइक इलेक्टोरल ट्रस्ट may be allowed under section 8 companies. So the words like forum, association, federation, chambers, councils is something which is included in section 8 companies. So now all my children know what is section 8 companies. They are the companies which are set up for charitable purposes, and these kind of words are very important because section 8 companies do not have the word limited and private limited. Can section 8 companies be OPC? No, we remembered OPC cannot be a section 8 companies. So section 8 companies must have the words like foundation, forum, federation, chamber, commerce. Say for example, Rushita and Rekha decide to open a section 8 company. So they will say that Rushita and Rekha Federation. So kind of say CII, federations, chambers of commerce. These are all section 8 companies. Okay. Sumela, you're asking we have to learn each and every line of MOA. Yes, child, as far whatever I'm telling to you right now, that is what is important. You have to learn. All right. So this is the name clause. I have told you what information you have to remember in the name clause. Second clause is the registered office clause. What will it tell you? Where the registered office is situated? Very simple. Now, this is a very important clause, object clause. If the company has changed any activities which are not there in the name, it shall file this change within a period of 6 months. So if I am an education sector company, then my memorandum will clearly write that this company provides education to private sectors or whatever is the work. But if I've decided that now I'm changing my work profile from education into manufacturing of cloth, then within a period of 6 years, my memorandum shall be changed and I need to file this change in name as well as change in the objective with the registrar. Why? Because people who are dealing with me will read my memorandum. That is only they will come to know what the company is actually dealing into. Okay, liability clause is something again which we have done, children. Company limited by shares, you know the memorandum. I told you now where it is written. It is written in the memorandum that the liability will be limited on the amount unpaid on shares, and in case of guarantee, only at the time of winding up you will be asked to give the in case of a company limited by guarantee, only at the time of winding up you can be asked to contribute the amount that you have guaranteed for. Okay, so liability clause will tell you what is your liability. Capital clause will tell you how much is the authorized capital. हमने अभी समझा authorized capital is the maximum amount of shares which the company can raise, and where it is written in the capital clause of memorandum of association. Okay, so capital clause will only have the main authorized share capital, how much is the subscribers to the memorandums have agreed to undertake. And what is the association clause? Association clause means अब हम individuals के बारे में बता रहे हैं जो कि हमारे subscribers हैं. The people who have subscribed to the memorandum, all their particulars, name, address, who are the people who have decided to open up a company, and they shall at least take one share in a company. So if you have decided to promote a company, if you're a subscriber to the memorandum, you must take at least one share in the company, and all your name, particulars, and the shares taken by you will be written under the association clause. Now this 7th clause is very important in case of OPC. This is something which you have to remember. This is an additional clause which has come in case of OPC. It says if your company is an OPC, then the name of the nominee shall also be mentioned in the association clause. So here in the association clause, you are mentioning about the subscribers to the memorandum, but आप तो सिर्फ OPC run करते हैं, आप सिर्फ one person है, तो आपके केस में आपने name of the person who shall be the member in case of your death, that has to be written. So you remember the name of nominee was to be given. So in case of OPC, in the association clause, you also have to give the name of the nominee. So you can write down over here, in case of OPC, the name of nominee shall also be included in the association clause. Clear हो गया? आगे चलते हैं. अब ये बता क्या रहा है हमें? Memorandum of association is very, very important. It says a legal person can act through its agents. A minor cannot be a signatory to memorandum. Again, a very important information. Minor is not competent to enter into a contract. Therefore, minor cannot be a member in a company. He cannot be a signatory to the memorandum, means he cannot sign the memorandum. The guardian who is signing the memorandum will be subscribing in his personal capacity. Okay. So it says a minor cannot even be a signatory to the memorandum. Why? Because he is not competent to enter into a contract. And all these clauses are called compulsory clauses. ये बहुत important clauses है. Memorandum of association में ये 7 clauses होने ही चाहिए. एक additional information OPC की थी जो कि हमने समझ. Doctrine of ultra vires. Ultra vires means beyond your powers. So ultra vires means beyond your powers. Children, can we act outside the object clause of memorandum? The answer is no. Simply what you have to remember over here is anything done outside the object clause of MOA is ultra vires, means null and void. Whatever is written in the objective clause of memorandum of association, the company can only function as per the objective of the company. If company does anything outside the object clause, those acts are known as ultra vires. Ultra vires means the acts will become null and void. It has no meaning in the eyes of law. So ये सारी chapter story जो ultra vires की लिखी है, ये जो मैंने आपको briefing दी है, आप सिर्फ ये लिख लीजिए. इसका meaning पूरी story में सिर्फ यही है that anything done outside the object clause, it is ultra vires, means it becomes null and void. Okay. Now quickly let us go to the important case law which proves this point. There is a very important case law, Ashbury Railway Carriage Limited versus which it says these are the facts of the case law. The entire paragraph which is given over above, it is simply talking about that the company cannot act outside its object clause. Please understand this case law, and then still if you have any doubts, I will take from that paragraph also. So there was a company, Ashbury Railway Carriage and Iron Company Limited versus Rich. Now examiner can give you a question based on the facts of this question, or he can ask you about the memorandum. If you give a reference of Ashbury Railway Carriage, it always gives a good impression. So this company had an objective. These were the objectives which were written in the memorandum, that it makes, sell and hire the railway carriages. It carries on the business of mechanical engineers. It is into sale purchase, work of mines and sale purchase of merchants and agents. Just an information, please children, you don't have to learn the object clause of the company. ये सिर्फ आपको बता रहा है, एक information दे रहा है कि company इस चीज का business करती थी. तो हुआ क्या? Company entered into a contract with Mr. Rich for financing the construction of railway line. So there was a company which was into manufacturing of the railway carriages. तो यहाँ पे important points of information है, वो company बनाती थी and बेचती थी railway carriages, and company ने contract करा Mr. Rich के साथ for financing of the construction line. What did the company was into? Company was into manufacturing of railway carriages, but it entered into contract with Rich for financing of the construction line. All the shareholders later went and they said, "ये directors ने तो गलत कर दिया है. How can you enter into a contract for financing? We are into manufacturing. So why are you signing a contract for financing?" So the direct shareholders said, this cannot be, ratified even by the unanimous decision. This is the ultra vires act. उन्होंने इसको अल्ट्रा वायर्स डिक्लेयर कर दिया. उन्होंने बोला हमारी मेमोरेंडम में अलाउड ही नहीं है, आपने कैसे फाइनेंसिंग ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन के कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के हाँ कर दी. तो क्या हुआ, रिच ने एक्शन फाइल करा, रिच ने केस फाइल करा कि आप मेरा ब्रीच का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट का डैमेजेस दीजिए, क्योंकि आपकी कंपनी ने मेरे साथ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करा था, अब आप ब्रीच कर रहे हो, सो आई विल फाइल एन एक्शन अगेंस्ट यू फॉर द डैमेजेस. हिज कंटेंशन वर, उसने क्या बोला, उसने कहा कि आपने जनरल कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स वर्ड यूज करा है ना अपने ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज में. तो सेकंड इंफॉर्मेशन जो हमें यूज करनी है वो ये, Mr. Rich said that you are using the word general contractors in your object clause, so that means you will be financing my construction work. So law held that this term general contractor has to be read with reference to mechanical engineering. You cannot read the law blindly. There has to be interpretation of law which is to be applied. They said there is a full statement. Please read the full statement. Carry on the business of mechanical engineers and general contractors. They said this general contractor is the work of mechanical engineers, not for financing. उन्होंने बोला ऐसे तो फिर आप बैंकिंग, इंश्योरेंस कुछ भी कह लो, फिर तो आप कुछ भी लेकर आ सकते हो जनरल कॉन्ट्रैक्टर में. बट यहाँ पे कंपनी जनरल कॉन्ट्रैक्टर मैकेनिकल इंजीनियर के रिस्पेक्ट में काम बात करी. So it said that it has to be read in connection with the company's main business. If you have not interpreted it, that means you are not authorized to make any kind of description like marine and fire insurance. तो उनका मजाक उड़ा दिया गया था, अगर आप इसको ध्यान से नहीं पढ़ रहे हो, that means आपकी गलती है. That means you have not read the object clause of the memorandum. So what was held? The ultra vires acts can never be binding on the company. Means company ने अगर गलत contract sign कर भी दिया था, then also this contract was ultra vires, means it was treated null and void, and company will not be held liable. What is this entire object clause of memorandum telling us? It tells us that memorandum is a public document. The people who are dealing with us should read the document and come before us. Any act done by the company which is beyond the powers, not only the directors but whole of the company, it will be treated as void and it is not binding on the company. So that means if company is doing anything outside the memorandum, company will not be held liable. So in this case of Ashbury Railway Carriage Children, Mr. Rich filed a petition, filed a case, then also it was held that since it was not in the object clause mentioned, therefore company will not be held liable. Now these are the 4 important points which you have to remember. What does it say? The first 2 points I have already explained to you, that any act done outside the object clause is null and void, it has no meaning. Any act which is ultra vires cannot be ratified. Now if you ask me, can you approve this act? Say for example all the shareholders decided that चलो हम एक resolution pass करके ना इसको consent दे देते हैं. So law says an act which is ultra vires cannot be approved, cannot be ratified, even if all the shareholders agree. So even by unanimous consent also the act cannot be approved or cannot be ratified. Another 2 points says the act which is ultra vires the director but intra vires the company. Say for example, if the company has, the directors did not have the authorization to sign up till 70 lakhs approval for the new project. So they only had the authorization that up till 70 lakhs you can approve, you cannot go beyond that. But still directors went beyond that approval and they signed for 90 lakhs project. So now they said, although the object clause, although the act was within the object, you can say the company was into manufacturing of tables and furniture, and they have made the contract for this table and furniture only, but they have crossed the approval limit. So 70 lakhs was the approval which was allowed to the directors, but they went up till 90 lakhs. Now law says that some acts which are ultra vires the director, means director ने act अपनी power के बाहर करा है, but it is intra vires the company, means वो power within the object clause of company है, then such an act can still be ratified. Means such an act can still be approved by all the shareholders. So where the director is doing anything ultra vires and it is intra vires the company, then such a thing can still be approved by the company by passing a resolution. And if an act is ultra vires the articles, then also you can pass a special resolution in the general meeting and ratify. So what is that you have to remember over here is, if you go outside the company, if you go outside the memorandum of association, then the act is ultra vires and it is treated as null and void. How it is proved? It is proved on the above case law. It cannot be ratified even by unanimous consent of all the shareholders. Ratify का मतलब होता है it cannot be approved. सारे shareholders भी अगर approve करना चाहे तब भी वो proof नहीं हो सकता. Okay. So now articles of association, let us quickly go through it. So it says articles are the internal rules and regulations. So in memorandum of association, we have understood that that is the major public document. So anybody who is coming and dealing with my company should read my MOA, then only you should sign a contract with me, because if a company does anything outside the object, company will not be binding. But it says, what about the articles? Now articles of association is, children, the rules and regulations of the company. Section 15(5) of the Companies Act has generally told you this is the breakup, this is what is included in the Articles of Association. It tells you about what are the matters, how the company has to run. So memorandum tells you an overview that I am into manufacturing of clothes, but how the clothes have to be bought, who will be the suppliers, who will be my banker, how the shareholders will be appointing the directors, how the regulations will take place. This is what my Articles of Association tells me. The only important point to remember over here is contain provisions for entrenchment. Entrenchment means certain restrictive provisions. So you can also restrict your articles. You can also say, for example, where you have passed a resolution that a special resolution is must, then only the approval can be given. So such kind of restrictions also you can attach in your articles. And it says if you have attached any entrenchment, then it should be amended in the articles and it has to be informed to the registrar. All right. So notice to the registrar of entrenchment is very, very important. It shall be informed. And rest is just mere basic information, which again you can give a reading. Difference between memorandum and articles बहुत important है बच्चा, इसको पढ़ लेना. Objective memorandum आपको company का objective बताता है, articles rules and regulations बताता है. Memorandum company का and outsiders का relationship बता रहा है. Articles of association tells you the relationship of the company with its own members. Anything done outside the memorandum is ultra vires, but anything done beyond the articles can still be ratified, means can still be approved by passing a special resolution of the shareholders. Now children, doctrine of indoor management. Those who are asking what is the meaning of doctrine? Doctrine means principle, a rule. So doctrine of ultra vires, Ashbury railway carriage हम learn कर लेंगे. Doctrine of indoor management के लिए it's very important to understand the doctrine of constructive notice. Doctrine of constructive notice says that the memorandum and articles are the public documents and they are open for inspection to any person. So whenever any person wants to make a contract with the company, it is assumed that you have read the contents of the document. So doctrine of constructive notice means आपको हम notice दे रहे हैं, आपको हम बता रहे हैं कि ये हमारे दो documents हैं. Please जब भी आप हमारे साथ contract करने आ रहे हैं, हम assume कर रहे हैं कि आप हमारे ये documents पढ़कर आए हैं. अब वो क्यों इतना stress कर रहा है, क्यों बता रहा है आपको? क्योंकि हमने अभी समझा कि अगर कंपनी अल्ट्रा वाइज एक्ट करती है तो कंपनी लायबल नहीं है. इसलिए उसने डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्टिव नोटिस बनाया है कि अगर आप कंपनी के साथ डील कर रहे हो तो प्लीज आप ये डॉक्यूमेंट्स पढ़कर आओगे, otherwise it is your fault, not company's fault. So please write down in your notebooks, doctrine of constructive notice gives protection to the company. Doctrine of ultra vires, protection given to the company, means company will not be liable. Okay, हम company को liable नहीं कर रहे ना. If Mr. Rich, it was Mr. Rich's fault. He should have read the documents very carefully. In doctrine of constructive notice also, we are saying the same thing. Those who are saying ultra vires and doctrine of constructive notice says same thing. Yes, that says same thing. We are giving protection again to the company. Protection given to the company, that means company will not be held liable. It is your fault if you have come and make the contract with the company. Outsiders will be liable. Company will not be held liable means outsiders will be held liable. Now, this is very important, which I made you just write down. Doctrine of ultra vires says that protection is given to the company. Any act which is outside the memorandum, company will not be held liable. डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्टिव नोटिस ने भी सेम गाना गाया कि हमारा पब्लिक डॉक्यूमेंट है, आप प्लीज उसको पढ़कर आइए, कंपनी को हम प्रोटेक्शन दे रहे हैं, कंपनी विल नॉट बी लायबल, आउटसाइडर्स विल बी लायबल. देन डोंट यू थिंक एनी प्रोटेक्शन नीड्स टू बी गिवन टू द आउटसाइडर्स आल्सो? So it was held that protection needs to be given to the outsiders also. Therefore, doctrine of indoor management came up. Number one, doctrine of ultra vires and doctrine of constructive notice is clear. You have understood that we are trying to protect the company. Company does anything outside the object clause, company will not be held liable. It is outsiders' faults. Please read the documents, come carefully, then only enter into contract. So law said, every time you're holding the outsiders liable, don't you think any kind of protection should be given to the outsiders? Therefore, doctrine of indoor management came up. Now, doctrine of indoor management होता क्या है? वो कह रहे हैं कंपनी के दरवाजे बंद है, इंडोर दरवाजे बंद है, आप इंटरनल मैनेजमेंट में अगर आप कुछ भी कर रहे हैं ना, उसकी वजह से अगर कोई नुकसान होता है, सो कंपनी विल बी लायबल, आउटसाइडर्स विल नॉट बी लायबल. सिंपल. So it is very important. First of all, you should know why these doctrines were made. Now I will, don't worry, I will explain you. I will take extra time, children. Don't worry. मैं सिलेबस खत्म कराए बिना कहीं नहीं जा रही हूँ. टेंशन निकाल दो पहले दिमाग से और सारा ध्यान इधर दो. I am not reading the queries as of now. I will take the class up till 1:30. Don't worry, but pay attention. So third point, it says protection was required to be given to the outsiders also. Therefore, doctrine of indoor management came in. So doctrine of indoor management is simply an exception to the doctrine of constructive notice. It says constructive notice may we have understood that outsiders are at fault. They should have read the document. But what if some problem is occurring within the company? अगर कंपनी ही कुछ हेर फेर कर रही है, अगर कंपनी ही फ्रॉड कर रही है, कंपनी ने रेजोल्यूशन पास करना था और वो पास नहीं करा, तो क्या आउटसाइडर्स फिर भी लायबल होंगे? The answer is no. So I am now going to tell you certain cases, which is the topic known as doctrine of indoor management, where company will be held liable and outsiders will not be held liable. But before that, please write this picture in your notebook. Doctrine of ultra vires, company's protection is given, means यहाँ पे भी outsiders are liable. Outsiders are held liable. ये हमने किस में समझा? हमने एशबरी रेलवे कैरेज के केस में समझ लिया. कंस्ट्रक्टिव नोटिस में भी एग्जांपल पढ़ लेना, स्टडी में दिया हुआ है, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग. उसमें भी आउटसाइडर्स विल बी हेल्ड लायबल, कंपनी को प्रोटेक्शन मिल जाएगी. डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ इंडोर मैनेजमेंट इज द ओनली डॉक्ट्रिन वेयर outsiders are given protection, means here company will be held liable. Okay, लिख लिया सबने. अब हम समझते हैं डॉक्ट्रिन ऑफ इंडोर मैनेजमेंट होता क्या है, क्यों कंपनी को लायबल कहा जाएगा. आई होप यू ऑल हैव रिटन. इवन इफ यू हैव नॉट रिटन, लिसन टू द रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर लेटर ऑन. पॉज ओवर हियर एंड राइट इट. ओके, अभी हम पॉज नहीं कर सकते. So इंडोर मैनेजमेंट का डॉक्ट्रिन चिल्ड्रन बहुत एक लीडिंग लैंडमार्क केस है, रॉयल ब्रिटिश बैंक वर्सेस टर्पन रूल, which is again one of the examiner's favorite case. So many a time a case study come from this question also, and please मेरी presentation बाद में पढ़ लेना, उसमें मैंने ये वाला case study भी cover करा हुआ है, so you can revise it from that particular presentation also. So what happened? Listen to the story quickly. There was Mr. Turquin who was the liquidator of the company. So एक रेलवे कंपनी है जिसका टर्क्विन लिक्विडेटर था. लिक्विडेटर मींस कंपनी वाइंडिंग अप में गई और अब हमने लिक्विडेटर अपॉइंट कर लिए जो कि पैसे का लेन देन कर रहा है, सारा हिसाब किताब उसके हाथ में. रिमेंबर इंसॉल्वेंसी में भी हम लिक्विडेटर अपॉइंट करते थे, ऑफिशियल असाइनी. अब कंपनी वाइंडिंग अप में चली गई, मिस्टर टर्क्विन लिक्विडेटर थे कंपनी के. So there was a company which was formed under Companies Act 1844, and this is the story which was happening. The company has given a bond of £2,000 to the Royal British Bank. So there was a company, railway company, and there was Royal British Bank. So Royal British Bank ने company को £2,000 का bond raise करा हुआ था company. So you can say a kind of a loan, a kind of borrowing ली हुई थी Royal British Bank से. The bond was under the company's seal and it was signed by two directors and secretary. तो company के directors ने and secretary ने bond sign भी करा हुआ था. When the company was sued, it was held that the registered deed of settlement directors had only the power to borrow an amount which was authorized by a company resolution. However, a resolution was passed, but specifying how much the directors were not given clearly. Now what happened? उन्होंने बोला रॉयल ब्रिटिश बैंक ने कहा कि देखिए आपकी कंपनी ने हमसे £2,000 का बॉन्ड रेज कराया हुआ है, बट बाद में कंपनी ने मना कर दिया, कहते जी हमारे तो डायरेक्टर्स के पास पावर ही नहीं है £2,000 का बॉन्ड इश्यू करने रेज करने power. But how this was clarified, they said that we have not passed a resolution. There was certain resolution which was to be passed in the company's meeting and they have not specified how much the directors can borrow. Now children, you tell me, if you're dealing in the company, so you learned that we are supposed to read the memorandum of the company. Yes ma'am, we should read the memorandum. We should have a constructive notice. Yes, you should have a constructive notice. But are you required to have the notice of the internal affairs of the company also? What is company doing within inside, whether they are passing a resolution or not? Do you think outsiders is required to know that as well? The answer is no. It is not outsiders' responsibility. वो थोड़ी ना आकर देखेगा कि आप अपने घर के अंदर क्या कर रहे हैं. आप कंपनी के अंदर resolutions पास कर रहे हैं ढंग से या नहीं कर रहे हैं. That is not outsiders' headache. So in such a case where Turkman rule was laid down, which said that something which is happening within the company, it says the bond was valid. Royal British Bank could enforce the terms. Royal British Bank is an outsider over here. He won the case saying that the bank was deemed to be aware that directors could borrow the money, but how much they can borrow, bank has nothing to do with that. So bank cannot deem to know which ordinary resolution was to be passed unless and until your ordinary resolution is not registered. It is not bank's mistake. Bank is simply required to know that the resolution were to be passed and what is happening in the company's internal affairs, that is company's problem. Outsiders will not be held liable. समझ आ गया चिल्ड्रन? बिकॉज अगर इंडोर मैनेजमेंट नहीं समझ आएगा तो ये तीनों लिंक्ड है. अल्ट्रा वाइज आपको अच्छे से समझ आ गया, एमओए से लिंक्ड है. कंस्ट्रक्टिव नोटिस सिर्फ पब्लिक डॉक्यूमेंट की बात कह रहे हैं कि आप पढ़कर आइए तभी कंपनी से डील करिए, बट कंस्ट्रक्टिव नोटिस के केस में आप हर वक्त आउटसाइडर्स को लायबल नहीं ठहरा सकते हो. इसलिए टर्कमैन रूल में एक एक्सेप्शन आई थी कि अगर कंपनी अपने इंटरनल अफेयर्स अच्छे से मैनेज नहीं कर रही है, रेजोल्यूशंस पास नहीं कर रही है, फिर कंपनी लायबल होगी. आउटसाइडर्स विल बी गिवन द प्रोटेक्शन. बट अगेन 3 exceptions are given to the doctrine of indoor management. You will notice that doctrine of indoor management is important to persons dealing with the company through directors and other persons. It says कई बार ना आप कंपनी को तो लायबल कर रहे हो, बट कई बार डायरेक्टर्स की गलती होती है, कंपनी को नहीं आप होल्ड कर सकते. So ये जो मैं आपको 3 केसेस बताने जा रही हूँ, इसमें डायरेक्टर्स की मिस्टेक समझानेंगे when the director is specifically held liable. So as long as the act is valid and if it is done in the particular manner, outsider dealing in the company is assumed that it has been done in the manner it is required. So doctrine of indoor management has its own limitation, means उसकी अपनी कुछ कमियां हैं, तो हर बार आप कंपनी को लायबल नहीं ठहरा सकते. There are 3 particular exceptions which are given to the doctrine of indoor management. The first exception is actual and constructive knowledge of irregularity. It says if any director is already having a knowledge that there is something wrong which I am doing, then that director will be held liable. For example, there was a director of a company who was an insider as well as outsider. Means although he was a director in a company and he knew that the company cannot give a loan up till a certain amount, but still he took a loan of the company beyond the certain limit. Now in such a case where the approval of general meeting was not taken, it was said that the particular director will only be held liable and not the company. You cannot say that now we are applying the indoor management because this was company's affair. This particular director who could not defend the issue of debentures because they knew the extent to which they are lending money to the company. आप कंपनी के बंदे हो, आप इंसाइडर हो, आपको पता है कि कंपनी इतना ही लेंड कर सकती है, फिर भी आप अपने आप को इतना ज्यादा अमाउंट के लिए लोन दे रहे हो, then this particular director of Forward versus Patent Ivory Manufacturing Company, that director was held liable and not the company. Second is again very interesting example, suspicion of irregularity. तो सिंपल कोई केस था समझा देती हूँ इसमें, डिंचा एंड कंपनी का, आनंद बिहारी लाल. सो देयर वाज एन अकाउंटेंट who was dealing in a company. एक बार वो अकाउंटेंट किसी के पास गया और कहता मैं ना पूरी कंपनी बेचना चाहता हूँ. तो आउटसाइडर ने हैरान तो हुआ कि हमें डाउट तो है, सस्पेशन तो आया है कि अकाउंटेंट कैसे कंपनी बेच रहा है, बट फिर भी उन्होंने डीड फाइनल कर ली. It was held, this kind of transfer was completely held void because how can an accountant have the power to sell the company's property? You need to have the power of attorney. So अगर आपको कोई doubt आ रहा है, suspicion आ रहा है, then you must inquire into the transaction. You must see whether this person has power to enter such a kind of contract or not. So where outsiders are behaving negligently, in such a case you cannot hold the company liable. You cannot say that now company is held liable because company का accountant मुझे सामान बेचने आया था. It is your mistake. No, won't you apply your own brain? You have a suspicion of irregularity. You are understanding there is some irregularity which is happening. Then you must apply your brain, and company will not be held liable. And those who are asking me, ma'am, accountant can be held liable. Yes, that accountant can still be held liable because he has done fraud. And the third and most important case is forgery. Forgery का मतलब होता है fake signature. अब Rubin versus Great Bengal Consolidated Company में क्या हुआ था? The plaintiff was the transferee of a share certificate. The company has issued a share certificate under the seal of a company, its defendant's company. So when the company issued a share certificate, उसपे ना signatures चाहिए थे company secretary के and 2 directors के. तो कंपनी सेक्रेटरी ने क्या करा, उसने कंपनी की सील तो फिक्स कर दी एंड 2 डायरेक्टर्स की सिग्नेचर्स फोर्ज्ड कर दिए. फोर्ज्ड मतलब फेक. प्रखर की सिग्नेचर हरलीन मैम ने कर दी है तो मैंने उसकी नकली सिग्नेचर कर दी. तो अगर प्रखर है कंपनी का डायरेक्टर तो प्रखर ही साइन करेगा ना, मैं तो नहीं ना कर सकती उसकी जगह पे. पर यहाँ पे क्या करा, कंपनी सेक्रेटरी ने 2 डायरेक्टर्स, मैनेजिंग एंड होल टाइम डायरेक्टर्स के सिग्नेचर्स भी चाहिए थे शेयर सर्टिफिकेट पे, पर कंपनी की सेक्रेटरी ने गलत सिग्नेचर्स, झूठे फेक सिग्नेचर्स कर शेयर सर्टिफिकेट इशू कर दी. अब आप मुझे बताओ, क्या आप ये बोलोगे कि इंडोर मैनेजमेंट एप्लीकेबल हो गया एंड कंपनी इज लायबल? अरे भाई, कंपनी के साथ भी तो फ्रॉड हुआ है. तो हु शैल बी हेल्ड लायबल इन दिस रिस्पेक्टिव केस? दिस इज दिस पर्टिकुलर कंपनी सेक्रेटरी. इसको लायबल ठहराओ क्योंकि इसने गलत सिग्नेचर करे. So where the signature were genuine or forged on the part of internal management, company could be stopped from denying the genuineness. If they say that the rule will never be extended to complete forgery, where any kind of forgery or any fake signatures have been used, then that transaction will be treated as null and void. Doctrine of indoor management only applies to irregularities, but it cannot apply to forgery, which is considered as null and void. So 3 cases where indoor management is not applicable. आप ऐसे भी याद रख सकते हैं कि इन 3 केसेस में वो रिस्पेक्टिव डायरेक्टर या कंपनी सेक्रेटरी जिन्होंने गलती करी है, they will be held liable and not the company. So children, doctrine of indoor management tells us that outsiders are given a protection, company will be held liable. For that, we have to remember Royal British Bank versus Turquoise. It is also known as Turquoise rule, where the company did not have the power of the directors, was not up till 2000 bonds borrowing. Still, they went beyond that. But the outsiders said that we are not considered whether you have passed the resolution or not. Therefore, Royal British Bank won the case in that case. And outsiders, that means bank as was an outsider and he was given a protection on the basis of doctrine of indoor management. But that doesn't mean that every time company will be held liable. So again, in these 3 cases where there is suspicion of irregularity, that particular accountant's case, when there is an irregularity means the knowledge of irregularity where the director is knowing that they cannot lend beyond their powers, still they are lending money to themselves. And the case of forgery, in such cases, these are 3, forgery means fake signatures. In these 3 cases, company will not be held liable. Maybe that respective accountant or the company secretary or the director will be held liable. but these are the exceptions to the doctrine of indoor management. Okay, children, with this, we have completed the syllabus. I know I was running fast at the end because, children, I didn't want you to miss upon anything. This is the last chance when we are meeting before your exams. So those who are writing, we would still like to meet for the queries. I'll try my best if we can take a session again for any other thing. Thank you, Jayesh Pyas, for saying that you enjoyed the session. That means a lot. And but please, even if you have not understood, listen to the lecture carefully. The recorded lecture is there on your YouTube also. But the syllabus is completely finished from my side now. Nothing we have left in between. And even the amendments are covered. So you can patiently listen to it later on also. Yes, now I will take up the queries. Don't worry. I have taken the permission for extra 10 minutes. So I will take your queries. Don't worry. Okay, if you allow me to sip a glass of water. Anjali Devakar, if you change any of the contents of memorandum, we need to update it within 6 months and it need to be filed with the registrar. Alteration of memorandum is not part of your CA interface. Okay. Soumya Bhattacharya, thank you so much. If you have any question, you can write that also. Vinayak, thank you so much for writing perfectly understood. I'm glad. Rishita Sharma, I hope you understood the topic later on. Case law for constructive notice, you can simply remember doctrine of ultra vires Ashbury railway carriage. बस उतना बहुत है. Constructive notice का एक example दिया हुआ है छोटा सा study में, वो पढ़ लेना बच्चे. Sumela, the feelings are the same over here. Even I'm going to miss you. Thank you, Yashika. Thank you, Aditya Soni. Thank you, Vinayak. Explain forgery once again. Okay, I will take up. So, Mr. Sheikh Mohammed, in OPC, you simply have to remember the significant points. Those are given. And 2 important points. 182 days replaced with 120 days and omitting the conversion. That's it. Thank you, Aditya Soni. Thank you, Abhishek. Okay. So forgery, those who really want me to explain forgery once again, I'm just looking out for the common queries, if any other. So children, forgery, it says that, if any of the fake signatures, I will just read this example once again so that it is clear. So there was a share certificate which was to be issued. In this respective case, they said that if the company secretary is signing a fake signature, say for example, company secretary का नाम है Miss A and 2 director थे Mr. B and C. तो Miss A ने B and C के directors भी नकली signatures कर दी. तो आप कह सकते हैं कि कंपनी लायबल है. तो लॉ कहता है ये फोर्जरी रूबिन वर्सेस ग्रेट बंगाल कंसोलिडेटेड केस लॉ आया था जिसमें कहा गया था दैट दिस इज एन एक्सेप्शन टू द टर्कवेन रूल. दैट मींस doctrine of indoor management is not applicable to the forgery. In such a case, company will not be held liable. However, what can you do? What is the protection given to the outsiders? Outsiders का वो share cancel हो जाएगा. So if any such kind, जैसे हमने वो accountant वाला company property sell कर है, तो वो हमने null and void कर दिया ना. That means sale नहीं होगा. अगर कोई advance money लिया था, तो वो accountant से recover कर सकते हैं. So in that case, company will not be held liable. This is something which they are trying to teach you as a part of exception to the Turkmen rule. If you ask me, ma'am, that company secretary can be still held liable, yes, he can still be held liable because company के तो खुद के साथ fraud हुआ है ना. उन्हें पता ही नहीं कि मिस ए ने ये चालाकी से B and C के signatures भी कर दिए. Okay, so in that case, the share will get cancelled. The person who was getting that share certificate, it will get cancelled. तो उसका तो कोई नुकसान हुआ ही नहीं है. And still, if they want to hold liable, company secretary can be held liable, but not the company. Miss Mitra, the small company changes, you can simply remember the new definition, inserted figures. They are the higher prescribed limits that they have included. You can just learn that from the amendment. That's it. Thank you, Sneha. RZ, you're asking what is turnover? So revenue that has been taken. So whatever sales you have made over the period of time, they will be giving you such kind of figure in the exam. Nobody will ask you to calculate the turnover in law paper. But where turnover provisions can be applied, they will be giving you the figure and you have to see that if the paid up capital and turnover of the company. So turnover, you can simply remember the sales of the company. Chitra Murthy, thank you so much. Business law section. Yes, your correspondence section will be taken up after these classes. Thank you, Shruti. Yashika Mahajan, Doctrine of Indoor Management is important. So I hope you have understood it clearly. Once you'll give it a fair reading, definitely you'll remember it. Thank you, Chandan Kumar. Thank you, Yashika. Yes, Sahil, I'm from Chandigarh. I told you earlier that also. Thank you, Jayesh. No MCQs today. Aditya Pathak, you still have the energy to do MCQs? Okay. I hope time permits me. I would have taken those as well. Yes, Rishu Chauhan, please send your query again. सुष्मिता, सस्पेशन ऑफ इरेगुलरिटी मींस अगर आपको कोई डाउट हो रहा है, जैसे वो अकाउंटेंट कंपनी की प्रॉपर्टीज बेचने जा रहा है, तो अकाउंटेंट थोड़ी ना कंपनी बेच सकता है, कंपनी की प्रॉपर्टीज कैसे ले आया, कुछ ना कुछ तो आपको डाउट आएगा ना, कंपनी के ओनर्स ही कंपनी को बेच सकते हैं. So a manager and accountant is a kind. It says suspicion of irregularity means where you have a doubt that something is wrong. In then such a case, outsider must inquire all the things. He must try to find out the power of attorney. उसको देखना चाहिए कि आपके पास एफिडेविट है, पावर ऑफ अटॉर्नी है, पीओए कैरी कर रहे हो या नहीं. अदरवाइज वो आउटसाइडर की गलती है, कंपनी की गलती नहीं है. Kartike, authorized capital is something which is need to be mentioned in MOA. That's it. That is the maximum limit of capital which the company can raise. Changing of nominal capital, alteration of memorandum, that is your C interest rate. Raghavan, a professional can start a company, but that line that explained you, declaration which is given by a professional, in that case, he will not be considered as a promoter. Okay, he will not be counted as promoter. Sure, Abhishek Kumar, I'll take into that consideration. Yes, Mr. Amal KV, as of now, the OPC's conversion has been omitted. Pooja Singh, difference between MOA and AOA, those 4 points which are given in study material are sufficient. If professional decide to establish a business, can he be an promoter itself? I told you, Mr. Smith, a professional cannot be counted as promoter, but if he's setting up a company, then he will be a promoter. Please understand the difference. Where I am as a CA giving you a declaration that Mr. Smith and Kartike can set up a company, then you are the promoters of that company. Where I am going to set up my own company, definitely I can be a promoter. Thank you, Ms. Mitra. Section 8 companies, children, what you have to learn in that. Thank you, Ms. J, Ms. Sheikh, Vishnu Dio. Okay, Section 8 companies में आपने simple थोड़ी सी जो बातें याद रखनी है कि that is a company which is into charitable objects. जो 3-4 objectives दिए हुए हैं, sports, art, culture, that is something to remember. They don't give dividend to their members. They are basically non-profit kind of organizations. Number 2, approval of central government is required. So these are the points where you have to learn how the license can be issued from the central government to be a Section 8 company, and how does the revocation of license happens. If you contravene any of the provisions, then a fine of 10 lakhs, 1 crore, whatever figures are mentioned over there, that is you have to learn. But the only important point, Section 8, subsection 11, the imprisonment of 3 years have now been omitted in the Companies Amendment 2021. The recent amendment we have just done. Thank you, Sanovar. आकांक्षा, एशबरी रेलवे कैरेज केस में सिर्फ ये समझाया गया था कि अगर कंपनी के आउटसाइड जाकर आप मेमोरेंडम के ऑब्जेक्ट क्लॉज के बाहर जाकर आप कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करते हो आउटसाइडर्स के साथ, तो वो आउटसाइडर्स की गलती है. तो ऑन दैट रिस्पेक्टिव केस मिस्टर रिच विल बी हेल्ड लायबल एंड नॉट द कंपनी. Why? Because Mr. Rich should have read the object clause of the memorandum. In the object clause, it was written that the company is into manufacturing, sale, purchase of railway wagons. And Rich ने बोला कि general contractors word लिखा हुआ. तो उन्होंने कहा general contractors mechanical engineers से related लिखा हुआ है. So you have to interpret the law clearly. What you have to remember, you don't have to remember the entire case law. You simply have to remember the name of case law, and on the basis of that, decision was taken that any act done outside the object clause of memorandum, it is ultra vires the companies, means it is null and void, and it cannot be ratified even if all the shareholders try to prove it. It cannot be ratified. मोनिका, बायलॉज मीन्स द रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस। जैसे हम अपने कोई रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस बनाते हैं कि हमने कंपनी चलानी है तो आपने इतने बजे आना है, कैसे आना है, क्या सप्लायर्स है, क्या डीलर्स है, तो वो सारे रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस आपके आर्टिकल्स ऑफ एसोसिएशन में लिखे। Rishu Chauhan, private company 2 and public company 7. Maximum also limit has been given. Definitely, Vansh, all the best for your exams, and I wish I can meet you once again if it's possible. Let's see. स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन समझ नहीं आया सेनोवर, तो स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन बच्चा मैंने समझाया भी नहीं अभी. Ordinary and special resolution are part of your meetings when you go to CA Inter. You will get a full-fledged lecture on how the resolutions are passed. अभी के लिए सिर्फ हमने इतना समझा है कि रेजोल्यूशन पास कर कर भी आप रेटिफाई नहीं करा सकते. तो आपने सिर्फ जहां जहां भी स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन का 2 जगह रेफरेंस आ रहा है स्टडी मटेरियल में, उतना ही आपने याद करना है. समझने के लिए मीन्स हम अप्रूवल देते हैं. रेजोल्यूशन का मतलब होता है कि हम मीटिंग्स में बैठकर अप्रूवल दे रहे हैं कि हाँ जी आप ये काम कर सकते हैं. जैसे मैंने एबीसी डायरेक्टर्स हैं उनको अप्रूवल दी कि आप इतनी अमाउंट तक बोरोइंग कर सकते हैं, तो हमने स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन पास कर दी अप्रूवल देते. ठीक है, बट एट लेंथ आप समझेंगे जब आप इंटर में जाएंगे. Vishnu Dev, only the type of companies which are given in the study material, you have to remember that. Yes, Jayesh Vyas. 120 days stay can be in gaps. Miss Akansha, what is important is आप पूरे previous year में 120 days रहे हैं, चाहे आप पहले 60 दिन रहे हैं, बाद में 60 days आ गए हैं, जैसे भी आप कैलकुलेट कर सकते हैं, टोटलिटी में 120 days. Yes, Chandan Kumar, that can happen. Thank you, Mr. Smith. It really means a lot. I'm glad you have enjoyed this journey so far, and you will definitely crack all your exams, all of you. Thank you, Somila. Thank you, Ronak. Ronak, you can find the RTPs on the ICAI web portal, जहाँ पे आपके suggested answers and mock test papers होते हैं, वहाँ पे revision test papers भी. Thank you, Yash Segal. I'm glad you're finding business law easy now. Thank you, Shubham Gupta. Akansha, I just clarified. I hope it's now clear. Riya Jain, plaintiff means जो case file कर रहा है. Children, I'm here for 2 more minutes. If you still have any queries, you can ask. And अगर आपने पहले भेजी थी कहीं, दोबारा लिख दीजिए, क्योंकि कई बार मिस हो जाती है. In 5 to 6,000 queries, don't expect me to figure it out. Padamvati, I hope now you have understood everything. If still you have a doubt, you can write that specific point. Sushmita, resident in India, we have to change. Yes, we have to change 120 days in OPC. Tushar Garg, can you repeat the doctrine? You want me to repeat the entire doctrine of indoor management? अच्छा होगी, पहले मैं देखूं किसी और की कोई क्वेरी तो नहीं है. Himanshu Gupta, again, Nidhi companies were those which are set up for the mutual benefit society. You can simply remember where we give the deposits, we have come together and now we just take deposits from each other, and as and when the money is required, we take out the money from those deposits for a mutual benefits. Mutual means आपसी benefits के लिए उसको use करें. So Nidhi companies are just to inculcate the habit of saving. Tushar Garg, I will take that topic, don't worry. Sure, Vinay. All right, children, thank you so much for sending so good wishes, Shubham, Sanjay, all of you, and I'm sure you will pass with good marks. Thank you, Abhijit. Thank you so much, Yash. Thank you so much, all of you. So, doctrine of indoor management, एक line में दोबारा समझा देती हूँ, एक line में तो खैर नहीं. But indoor management simply tells you, in the cases of Royal British Bank versus Tribunal, that all the time you cannot say that, outsiders also need to be protected. You cannot say that you have read the constructive notice and you have read the memorandum, now company will not be held liable. So in that respective case of Royal British Bank versus Tribunal, it was held that there was certain approval which was to be taken in the meetings in order to extend the borrowing powers of the directors. Now that approval was not taken. So law said this is your internal affairs. You cannot say that Royal British Bank will be liable for this transaction. It is your problem. If you have not taken that, then you should have taken. So indoor management, जो आपके internal rules and regulations में अगर आप कुछ कर रहे हो, उसमें अगर कोई गड़बड़ है, so company will be held liable for that. Outsiders will not be held liable. ठीक है, समझ आ गया? क्लियर है? आप इसको पढ़ लेना एक बार स्टडी मटेरियल में से ताकि आप रिवाइज करें. Okay, thank you, Abhishek. I think let's wind up now. I think I've answered almost all the questions. I'll just flip through for half a minute more if anything is left. Thank you, Sneha. So children, my humble request to you, after revising all the topics from the study material, do go through the suggested answers and mock test papers as well, because they actually help you to understand how the answers have to be written. So Prashant, OPC also, nominee also has the same 120 days to be seen. Yash Agarwal, send it again. So many of you write ना मेरी query रहेगी है, मुझे समझ नहीं आता कैसे, कितनी ऐसे तो रह ही जाएगी ना बेटा. I try to take up the queries which are common. Yes, Neha, it's you only. Yes, Agarwal. Yes, you are asking, do we have to learn all the sections? So I have been telling you from day one, it is not mandatory to write all the sections, but if you can write, please write the correct section. Never write a wrong section. Now, children, I'm just closing it, and one humble request, please make a tabular form for the types of companies I told you last time also, and try to understand and learn it on the basis of flowcharts. जितना आप लिख कर learn करते हैं, law उतना ही आपको retain होती है. And do well, all the best. My good wishes are with all of you. If still you feel that something was missed, listen to the recorded lectures carefully. कहीं ना कहीं वो आपकी query उसमें answer होगी. All right. So thank you so much, and I look forward to meet all of you soon again. Let's see, maybe when, maybe in CA Inter, if God has given us the permission for that. Let's see. Thank you so much, and a very good bye and good wishes. I hope you all will clear CA Foundation with good marks. All right, children. Goodbye. Stay blessed.